After a full day of practice and qualifying, it's time to go racing, and welcome to NASCAR Countdown, presented by One Main Financial. And we're here at Lucas Oil Raceway as we're in for a store. It's been a hot day, and it's going to be a hot night in Indianapolis.
Before the bricks get kissed at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, NASCAR kicks off the weekend with some traditional short track racing. But this is way more than just a warm-up. Carl Edwards is running hot off his victory in Nashville. That's 5 this season, and he took the checkered here in 2009. Who will get in front of the 60 tonight?
There's Keselowski right on the bumper of Carl Edwards.
Already the tempers are getting up. That is short track racing at its best.
And the NASCAR nationwide lead is as tight as it gets. Only 30 points separate the top 4 drivers, and none of these guys flinch easily. Celebrating 50 years of classic short track racing history. Strap in. This is the NASCAR Nationwide Series from Lucas Oil Raceway at Indianapolis.
And down on the starting line area, the drivers in tonight's field getting a group picture taken. The 30th running of this great event here, the Kroger 200 at Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis. 30 years. There's the 42 cars that are going to be lined up and getting ready to take the green flag in just a matter of about a half hour from now. And let's take you back. Remember some of that history all the way back to 1982. That first race was won by a guy by the name of Morgan Shepherd. He went on to win twice more, and he is in the field tonight at age 69. All the best have run here. That's Dale Earnhardt Sr., Tommy Houston. He was big in the Busch Series when it was the Busch Series. And then Jeff Gordon as a young kid. And how about Michael Waltrip? Yep, he ran here as well. All the greats have over the course of time. And as we come down to the starting line area, right at pit out, hello, everybody. Marty Reed, along with Rusty Wallace, Ricky Craven. Glad that you could join us for Countdown. Let's talk a little bit about this track because it has a storied history, but for one guy in particular, it's created a bit of a problem for him.
Well, it's really created a big problem for Elliott Sadler. I mean, he's really got himself in problem out there right now. After he went to qualify, it really turned out bad for him, and he's going to have to start from the back of the pack and get himself forward. Let's take a look at this highlight right now about him coming down the straightaway here, guys. He's entering turn 1 right now. The splitter on the front of the car bottomed out. He slid up and clobbered the wall. They've worked really hard on the car right now to get it fixed, but he's going to have to start in the very back of the pack. And Ricky's going to be a long way to the front for him.
Yeah, it's damage control for sure. And this driver and team are too talented to allow this to become a downward spiral. They have to regroup. They can't allow it to get into their head. It actually started last week. If we go back to Nashville, you had Elliott Sadler leaving pit road. And you're going to see when we get to the clip, the left rear tire is going to be bouncing.
And that was the work from this weekend here. As we are waiting just for moments here, we're going to try and talk to Elliott. They are still trying to get that car through tech inspection. You both have had this happen to you. What's it like?
Well, it's a real setback, it really is. Elliott's going for a championship. He's had a great practice session. He's been running good all year long, but it appears they just misjudged and what that front of that car was going to do, Marty, and it's got him in big trouble right now. What he's got to do as a driver is just shake it off, get back in the game, and get ready. He can make it from the back of this pack to the front, but he's going to be careful doing it. He can't get frustrated, and his crew chief and spotter are going to have to help him.
All right, we've got a chance. We've caught up with Elliott Sadler. Shannon Spake is with him.
And Elliott was underneath that car working with his team right up until the drivers' meeting. We weren't able to catch up with you in qualifying because you were so busy. What happened?
I just locked up my brakes getting into turn 1. Just drove it in too hard, trying too hard, and put everybody in the One Main Financial Chevy team in a tough predicament. But we fixed the car. We're going to use the same car. We were really fast in practice today. We do have our work cut out for us, but I got a strong team, and this is why we race. We're going to come back tonight and try to get all the points back that I gave away in qualifying. But we'll be fine. The guys did a good job repairing the car, and we'll be there at the end. We'll be fine.
Your crew chief told me that because the points up front are so close right now that you really can't afford another mulligan. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we can't, and maybe I use up my mulligan in qualifying and we'll get it back in the race. But we're going to race hard, and we know what we need to do to get back up front. We know we got a fast enough car to do it, so we might have to play some pitch strategy tonight, maybe try to get some track position and go from there. So we'll just see how it all plays out. But I made a big mistake today, but I got such a great team surrounding me that's with me, and I don't feel like I'm by myself, and we're going to work on it and make it better, and we'll be okay tonight.
Thanks, Elliott. And guys, Ernie Cope did tell me he felt confident that they could drive their way up into the top 5. That's how good the car was in practice.
Well, Carl Edwards won here in 09. line starting 42nd. Maybe it'll happen. We talked about the mulligans. Here are the worst finishes of the top 4 in the points, and you can see they've all basically used up their one. They really can't afford another.
No, they can't afford another one. I mean, a lot of these guys know how tight the points championship is, Marty, and they know that some of these guys are real short track kings, and they want to strike tonight and get it right. And it's a good opportunity for you to make up for some big problems you've had.
Well, and Ricky, you mentioned just a few moments ago about Nashville, and I mean, this was a disastrous race for this team just a week ago.
Yeah, teams cannot afford to lose momentum, and if the pendulum swings too far the other way, then you start talking about composure and focus. Watch this left rear tire, folks, bouncing up and down, and the rear gear brakes. Elliott Sadler's stuck. They have to push him back to the garage area. He spends a bunch of laps behind the wall. It results in a 30th place finish. 2 weeks in a row this team's finished outside the top 10. They got to regroup and get back on track.
He's 14 points behind the championship leader, Reed Sorensen, and he is in 3rd place and going to be starting in the back of the field. There's another guy, though, that you feel has to have a big night tonight, and that's Jason Leffler.
Yeah, I think Jason Leffler needs to have a big night tonight. I think he can have a big night. He did win this race in 2007, and that car's been off and on strong this year, but they have had a lot of bad runs. But I think of Jason Leffler, I think of Indianapolis Raceway right here, the short track. I think this guy can right the ship. I think he can win this race tonight, and I know Jason, he's had this thing circled on his calendar for a long time. He is a short tracker, and this is one of his favorite racetracks.
Well, one of the guys that we thought was going to be making his Nationwide Series debut tonight, of course, was Travis Pastrana, but this is what happened just a couple of nights ago in the best trick competition. He was trying to do the 720 and did not land it. Broke his ankle. That's his mom looking on in disbelief. Broke his ankle and his foot and was not able to make his debut here at Lucas Oil Raceway. And you see the end result as they took him off. And even though he still had a smile on his face right here, he knew that he was in some trouble. And we are now able to talk to him. He's out in California. And first off, Travis, thanks for taking the time. A lot of your fans are missing you here. How are you feeling first?
Oh, just more disappointed than anything. I mean, really wanted to be there. We had a lot of guys with that Boost Mobile Toyota, and the whole Michael Waltrip Racing family, and all the team there was just really excited to come in here and to come in strong. And definitely disappointed in myself for letting everybody down. But look forward to getting there, watching this thing on TV, and then getting there soon.
Now we understand that you still are going to compete in rally car competition out there. Explain how you're going to be able to do this.
Very painfully. No, actually, I have not been cleared by medical. We did testing or practice this morning with some of the other guys. We weren't the slowest guy, but definitely weren't quite on pace where we had been. The team actually got really creative. We had some hand controls going on there, so kind of shattered that right tibia. So can't really use the right foot. But looking forward to hopefully getting out there and still being competitive tomorrow. Definitely would have loved to have done the same in NASCAR, but with such little experience in those cars already, there's we definitely have to come in and hope for the best that we can to even be remotely competitive there. So look forward to getting NASCAR next year, though, and thanks guys for all the support. I can't tell you how sorry I am and how disappointed I am I messed that trick up.
Well, we're going to show the fans at home your upcoming schedule, because your next scheduled NASCAR date is September at Richmond. What's the prognosis? When do you think you're going to be able to return to Nationwide Series action?
Well, I have surgery scheduled for Tuesday, so they'll fix up. I need to get my hand pin and plated, my right leg pin and plated, my right foot pin and plated. So unfortunately, I probably won't be up for about 2 months to be able to get weight bearing on that right leg. But definitely hoping to get back as fast as possible, get as much time in that car as possible, and go have some fun with you guys.
Well, Travis, they say all good things are worth waiting for, although this is not the way we wanted to wait to see you come to us here in Nationwide Series action. We wish you all the best. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks. Good luck today in the heat, man. I wish I was there.
Well, I don't know if he wants to be here in the heat, because it is blistering hot here as we're in the town of Claremont, just a little west of Indianapolis. And most of the time it's a sleepy little village. But when we roll into town with the Nationwide Series, well, we turn up the volume with 40 cars plus 42 going to the green flag tonight.
NASCAR Nationwide Series Countdown, presented by One Main Financial. Your needs, your goals, your dreams. And in part by Nationwide Insurance. Enter this code at codespotter.com for a chance to win one-of-a-kind NASCAR VIP experiences.
We're on the Yard of Bricks at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where Sunday one driver is going to win one of NASCAR's greatest prizes.
This is where the best drivers step up and shine. Gordon, Stewart, and Johnson have won multiple times. They'll be strong, but we've seen a lot of late race surprises this year too.
Every one of these drivers that show up want to be able to hold the trophy, go to victory lane, kiss the bricks at the end of the day. Join us and find out which driver wins the Brickyard 400. Our telecast presented by Golden Corral begins tomorrow at noon Eastern.
And that's the big race on the big track as we pull back from Indianapolis to Lucas Oil Raceway, where we got the big race on the little track, the 5/8 mile oval, Lucas Oil Raceway. And we're glad that you're with us here for NASCAR Countdown, presented by One Main Financial. And as we come back down to the starting line area at pit out, let's talk a little bit about some of the key elements that this 5/8 mile presents. And I know, Ricky, you want to focus in on restarts.
Yeah, it's one of the risks associated with racing here on the short tracks. It gets very busy, never more busy than the restarts. You're starting in second gear on the restart. Now watch last year's race at the drop of the green flag. Trevor Bayne on the outside spins his tires, white and blue car. It sets up an accordion effect. Go back 6 rows and you see the 38 car. Jason Leffler, now look to your right, the 38 car, wham, he gets the worst of this. We haven't even finished a lap, and Jason Leffler's already going to the garage area.
And there's a couple of areas that you want to focus in on as well.
Yeah, Marty, I'm really concerned about that exit of turn 2, and I'm concerned about that exit of turn 4. Those particular corners really create a lot of problems. Take a look at turn 2. The cars are getting down into turn 1 right now. This is a position where you pick the throttle up, try to make the pass, but sometimes you end up 3 and 4 wide. You see the 15 car on the outside gets the worst of it. He gets clobbered in the wall, and we're going to see a little bit of that stuff happening tonight. You see him getting loose off of turn 2 in the wall right there. Another portion I'm concerned about is the exit of turn 4. Take a look at the wall, how tall the wall is. You keep on coming down, all of a sudden the wall gets a lot shorter. And on restarts, a lot of these times these guys get 3 and 4 wide, and you can't see that wall, Marty. And these guys end up clobbering that wall because the wall is low, below the driver's vision, and he ends up hitting it.
Well, and you saw maybe right as we were talking, the 2 car did make it through inspection. They're on their way to the back of the field, so I think everything's going to be okay for Elliott Sadler. One other key area, brakes. For that, let's go over to the Craftsman Tech Garage. Check in with Tim Brewer.
One of the biggest obstacles the crew's going to face tonight is utilizing airflow. That brake opening ducts right here conducting airflow back to the hoses, and we're going to use the fan to accelerate the airflow, utilizing this particular hose to cool the sidewalls of the tire. These ducts all go to the brake caliper right in this area because the rotor is going to be about 1,300 degrees. It sets about 3/4 of an inch from the wheel. When that heat transfers from the rotor into this air chamber right here, the air pressure in the tire, what that's going to do, when you build up the air pressure, that tire is going to give up grip. The more air you can put to the brakes, the cooler you can keep them, the more consistent your car is going to be throughout the night.
Well, thanks, Tim. One of the other things that gets hot in a short track event are tempers. If you want a result of that, let's just go a couple of weeks ago to New Hampshire, where tempers were, well, shall we say, pegged. This was an incident early in the race. The 66 of Stephen Wallace gets into the 38 of Jason Leffler. Leffler goes into the wall. He says he has not forgotten. Later on, the 11 of Brian Scott runs up the hill, gets into the 66 of Wallace, and several other cars get in it as well. And then you see Stephen and the 11, and we talk about the fact that tempers get hot on a short track. Now, you're Stephen's father. I got to ask you, what did you say to him after all that?
Well, Marty, we talked a lot about it, and I'll tell you right now, I don't condone any of this style of driving. I don't like it. I don't like tearing people's cars up. I didn't like our car getting tore up or Jason's car getting tore up. I talked to Stephen about it. He was really, really mad at Jason. Jason was mad at him, and these guys got to understand how to control their temper. And they both talked. They both sat down and had a conversation, and I'm pretty confident it's over. Although this is a short track, I do expect tempers to flare. I just hope it's not these 2 guys.
Well, you've got a unique role. You're an analyst, but you're also the car owner, and you're his father. And this is a track that he does well on, so how do you keep him under control? What'd you say to him?
Well, I told him that he's won several short track races in his career. In fact, probably 30 or 40 of them. He's really good on the short tracks. And I told him, I said, look, you got to stay calm out there because this is a track you can actually win at. Keep your cool, stay driving smart. And a lot of people lost a lot of respect for what happened over there in New Hampshire. We'll get over it. Everybody will heal up, I realize, but you got a good advantage tonight. You got a good opportunity to win, so keep your cool.
All right, let's flip it over to Jason Leffler, Ricky, because from what we've been able to find out, he hasn't forgotten about all this.
No, but you can't allow conflicts to interfere with your objective, which is winning races and winning championships. Having said that, I'm going to tell you what drivers think when they feel like another driver took them out intentionally. Expect it when you least expect it. That's what I call it. Let's go back to last year. This is what we know about Jason Leffler. Doesn't say a lot, but he doesn't forget. Early in the race, James Butcher gets into the side of him, wrecks him. Goes back to the garage area. He declines an interview, doesn't say a word, gets a car repaired enough to come back out, evens the score. That's how drivers think. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen tonight, but I expect if he feels like Steven took advantage of him, he'll probably get even at some point.
All right, and with that, we're going to turn the corner, and we're going to head up to the booth. As there's Reed Sorensen. He's the points leader, but he's going to start 16th tonight. And the guy who's second in the points, well, that is Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and he's going to be on pole. We'll talk to both of them when we return.
Shootout Saturday night, 6-gun showdown.
NASCAR Nationwide Series Countdown, presented by One Name Financial. Your needs, your goals, your dreams.
Welcome back to NASCAR Countdown, presented by One Main Financial. We are live at Lucas Oil Raceway, 25 minutes to green flag racing. You know, this season we have seen a constant weekly shakeup at the top of the points. Last week was no different. As Carl Edwards was driving to his 5th victory of the season, some of our championship contenders were just trying to hang on.
Drivers, start your engine!
And the Federated Auto Parts 300 is green. Problems for Reed Sorensen in the electrical department.
Got battery, it's the battery, it's the battery.
Carl Edwards has got a big problem. He got called for speeding entering pit road.
Yeah, something sounds weird.
We may have some issues going on with the 22 of Brad Keselowski. Whoa!
Oh, no!
Carl Edwards has retaken the race lead from Austin Dillon.
Been a pretty good night for Elliott Sadler.
The longer it goes, the better we are.
Breathe out the back.
We've got a caution.
The 2-car of Elliott Sadler, 4-tire change.
Torn something up coming out of the pits.
Broke axle.
Well, that's going to hurt the old championship. The 2 is coming back out onto the racetrack. He is 31 laps down, so the race is sort of spread out here at late go. Carl Edwards is going to lead 124 laps tonight and pick up his 5th win of 2011 here at Nashville.
Awesome job, guys.
And this is how the points look coming into tonight's race. Reed Sorensen regained the lead, moved up 1 spot after last week's race. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in second, and you see Elliott Sadler move down 2 spots. 6 different drivers have led the standings this season, and that top spot has changed in 5 of the last 8 races. And now we're catching up with our points leader, Reed Sorensen. You guys made a ton of changes in practice sessions, both the practice sessions. What do you expect when you climb in this car and you take green tonight?
I don't know. I'm hoping the nighttime fixes our car because we did a lot of changes, like you said, and it did feel a little bit better in qualifying. Still a little bit hard to tell just in 2 laps there. So we're hoping for the best, but we're preparing to do what we need to do under cautions, make some changes. But I think last year we started 15th and we ended up finishing 5th. So we'll battle hard all night and try to get this Dollar General car up front. I know the pit crew's excited to be in pit box 1. That's a big deal here. Keep them from getting run over and should have good stops. So looking forward to tonight. Enjoy racing here and we'll have some fun.
You did mention you start 15th last season. Starting 16th tonight, we know this is a tough place to pass. What is the key to getting that done?
I watched a truck race last night over in the grandstands, and it looked just as hard or ever, if not harder, to pass here. So looks like you just got to have a car that turns really good, and that's what we were trying to get better at all day. So we'll see what we got, and might have to use the right side of the car a little more than we normally do to get around people. But 200 laps is a short race here, so we'll use up what we can at the end and pass cars.
All right, Reed Sorensen rolls off 16th. Rick.
We have 6 drivers today who are doing double duty, driving the 8 miles from Speedway over here to Lucas Oil Raceway. One of those drivers, Carl Edwards, out here driving that 8-mile ride a couple times today. And, last year when you were out here driving at this track, you were running for a driver's championship. What drives you, what pushes you to do all that extra work and get out here and run the extra race tonight?
It's a trophy. I mean, this is one of the most most exciting racetracks that we get a chance to drive on as drivers. So for me to come over here, Mike Beam, Scott Graves, all the guys on the Fastenal Mustang have worked so hard, and some of the best races we've had, some of the best wins I've had are here, and I'm just glad to be here racing.
Now, last week you were able to overcome a speeding violation on pit road. Well, something like that, would you be able to survive that tonight at this track?
That'd be really tough, so I got to make sure not to do that. That worked out great last week, but you can't do that every week. So just got to do everything we can. If I don't make any mistakes and my guys do as well as they've been doing on pit road, we should be pretty tough tonight.
Carl Edwards, remember 2 years ago he won from the last spot on the grid. He's in the second row, should be able to pull it off.
Brad Keselowski does double duty all the time, but do you ever do it at two tracks with such different personalities as these two?
But no. I mean, this is about as opposite as you can get from the Brickyard to the little track here in Raceway Park. So I enjoy both of them. There's two completely different sets of challenges. You go to the Brickyard and you got to hit a line within a couple inches going 205 mile an hour, and we come here and it's like you're going 100 and some mile an hour, but you've got to hit these marks and you have to be very smooth, and it's not so much about courage, it's about being smooth here. So just two completely different feels, and it's unique, and that's why we like coming here.
All right, speaking of personalities, how does this little old short track fit your racing personality?
Well, based on my last few finishes here, not very well. We've had decent cars here, and seems like always towards the end it just doesn't quite come together. So hopefully this time around with the new car, the Dodge Challenger that we have, his first race for it here, hopefully this time around we can get the discount tire Dodge Challenger in Victor Lane.
All right, Brad Keselowski, after qualifying fifth at the Brickyard, rolls off second tonight, and we'll be back with more of your opening ceremonies right after this.
Welcome back to Lucas Oil Raceway as NASCAR Countdown continues as we're getting ready for tonight's race. And you can see the grandstands filling in, the folks that get on the bank in turn number one, and they get to stake out that ground hours in advance of this race. Let's talk about some of the other drivers we haven't got a chance to really focus in on. How about the guy who's going to start fifth, Ricky, Trevor Bayne?
Yeah, this was a breakthrough race for him last year. I think about him mixing it up with Kyle Busch and Ron Hornaday. Door to door, he was matching them for speed. He's come a long way, including the Daytona 500 win since. I think he can break through tonight.
And you want to talk about the guy that's going to start right there alongside of him?
Yeah, I do. Brian Scott. I think he's got a great opportunity to run up front tonight and maybe win his first race. He's been really consistent, but he's had a lot of crashes early, but he's getting that smoothed out. He's with a great team, Joe Gibbs Racing, the teammate of the number 18 car that Kyle Busch has won so many times, and I think this guy right here can do a good job for his sponsors and his team tonight.
Okay, so I'm going to put both of you on the spot. We still got a few moments. Who do you like to win this race, Ricky Craven?
I like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He went toe-to-toe with Carl Edwards in Iowa. A little bigger track, but a pretty good example of short track racing. And I'm going to go with Ricky Stenhouse.
All right, who do you like?
Well, I'm going to step out just a little bit, but I'm going to pick my brother Kenny. I think Kenny has got a good opportunity. He run third up there all day long at Richmond, Virginia. I think he's got a good shot tonight.
All right, let's go trackside for the opening ceremony.
Our colors are presented by the United States Army Indianapolis Recruiting Battalion's Metro South Recruiting Company. And he is a Kroger 200 tradition. Tonight with the invocation from the Hazeldale Christian Church, it's Mark Wright.
Let's pray, folks. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this great night at the 30th running of the Kroger 200. Lord, tonight we ask you to be with those who are protecting our freedoms and allowing us to be here celebrating like we are here tonight. Lord God, we also ask that you would be with each of these drivers and that you would protect them and that you would calm the nerves of their loved ones. Lord, your word tells us to make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Tonight, may the sound of these engines and the roar of this great crowd be a joyful noise unto you. And finally, Lord, let these good old boys and girl get it on. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
And now, to sing the national anthem, widow of United States Marine Brian Latindre, and aspiring country musician Autumn Latindre.
Say, can you see
fight so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous night o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly strewn, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Autumn Latindre and that wild
So here at Lucas Oil Raceway, we are getting ready for the command to start engines as we've had the opening ceremonies. As not as colorful as last week's at Nashville when we had smoking hot wives, but it was still very nicely done. Guys are climbing into the cars. When we come back, we'll get this show on the road.
NASCAR Nationwide Series at Indianapolis is brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. Enter this code at CodeSpotter.com for a chance to win one-of-a-kind NASCAR VIP experiences.
Golden Corral.
Back here at Lucas Oil Raceway, where we're getting ready for tonight's race under the lights in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, as the fans trying to get the last-minute refreshments and get their seats in the grandstands as we come back topside. And just to prove that we do own sport coats, we put them all on after being in the heat down the trackside. All right, let's talk about some of the factors we haven't talked about so far. And I know you want to focus on what to expect tonight.
Yeah, I want to talk about the new car. This is the first time ever that the brand new Nationwide cars ever run at this particular racetrack. There are a lot of unknowns, and nobody's really got a notebook and records about how to make this car handle and work good. And to compound that, Marty, this car practiced during the day here, and they're going to race them at night. So there's a lot of things these guys do not understand what's going to happen. What will the car handle like when the sun goes down? To Ricky, that could be a big problem.
Absolutely. The other thing is going to be pit road. I mean, it's going to be extremely congested. There is an advantage for Reed Sorensen. He took pit stall number 1, so he gets a straight exit out. Michael McDowell is the first stall coming into the pits, so he'll have a clear entry in. And then Carl Edwards has an open spot in front of him. Other than that, you're going to see cars parked crooked, maybe bumping into one another, backing up. It's going to be crazy.
Well, the thing we need to point out for you folks is the pit stalls here are 26 feet in length. Bristol is 26 feet. The longest on the circuit is Auto Club Speedway at 42 feet.
Wow.
So that gives you an idea just how tight these pit stalls are going to be for the crews here tonight at Lucas Oil Raceway. Let's also talk about the fact last night's truckways saw something that doesn't normally happen. 111 laps went green all the way to the finish.
Yeah, we could see that tonight too, Marty. I mean, these cars have got the same engines as the trucks had in them last night, and the tires are very, very good that Goodyear's brought here. So we could see some long runs. We could see some tire wear, not tire problems, but tire wear, and it could be a really exciting night because of that.
I'm sorry, Rusty. I don't expect them to behave that well tonight, okay? I mean, this is short track racing. The roots of NASCAR, the foundation, all the young drivers that are watching tonight aspiring to be Sprint Cup drivers, they can relate to this. This is where you mix it up, bang it up, and settle it when the flag's already dropped.
Well, for 30 years we've been coming to this storied racetrack, and Kroger has been the title sponsor for every single one of those events. It's the longest continuing relationship in the Nationwide Series in that title event sponsorship role. And what a beautiful sight from high above as you see the grandstands filling in and the fans coming out to celebrate here at Lucas Oil Raceway. As it's now getting closer time to send it down trackside, where the heat will be replaced by the roar of engines, as 42 cars will come to life here at Lucas Oil Raceway in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Let's send it trackside and get tonight's event under the lights on the road.
On a bittersweet evening with the most famous words in motorsports, former U.S. Marine, the Honorable Mayor of Indianapolis, Mr. Greg Ballard, plus with him some Navy SEALs. Mayor.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines!
Okay, Austin, go ahead and fire it up. Go ahead, crank it up. All right, when you're ready here, guys. Okay, man, whenever you're ready. Let's do it. Today, nice and clean. Let us know what you need, Jason. We'll keep working on this thing. Go find us some grip and have some fun out there, bud. Sorry about that. Thanks.
So the engines have come to life here at Lucas Oil Raceway, all 42 cars, and there's the man that's going to be starting dead last in this field, Elliott Sadler. You can see the damage on the right side. He just happens to be our in-race reporter. This should be fun to watch as he fights his way through the field. We'll talk to him when we come back. Back here at Lucas Oil Raceway, where we're getting ready for tonight's Nationwide Series event at Indianapolis. Boy, what a beautiful view from high above. Across the top of the screen, you can see in the starting lineup, one car going to the rear, and that will be the two of Elliott Sadler. As a result of the qualifying crash, he'll be at the far end of that shot, all the way in the back. In fact, he is going to be our in-race reporter, and let's talk to him, Rusty.
Elliott Sadler, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
Yes, sir, I got you, Rusty.
Hey, buddy, we got an ESPN mailbag question. It comes from Tom in Raleigh, North Carolina. The question is, what do you have to do this week to bounce back after a difficult race in Nashville?
We just got to get back to being consistent. We've been very good on short tracks this year, with a couple of top fives, and we got a really fast car. The One Main Financial Chevrolet was good today in practice. We feel good about our long runs, and we just got to get back to being consistent. You know, it's just one of those things last week, but at least we had a really fast race car, and we were running good when the thing happened. So we'll just continue what we're doing. We should be fine.
Hey, buddy, you're really good in short tracks like you mentioned. We all know that, but we do know you had a little problem in qualifying today, got in the wall, got the car tore up. Hey, man, how confident are you that your crew got this car fixed back right so you take this thing up to the front and win this race?
Well, just like you said, Rusty, my guys worked their butt off today to get this car back right. They did an amazing job. We're going to see what it does. We should be fine. But I appreciate the hard work they gave me, and we got to go out here and make some of it.
All right, Elliot, thanks for taking time to talk to us, and go after him, man.
Hey, thanks, Rusty. You guys have a good night.
Let's check in on the rest of our onboards. Obviously, we have one with Elliott Sadler with One Main Financial. Trevor Bayne with his Ford onboard camera. Justin Allgaier with the Chevrolet onboard. Reed Sorensen, our points leader, the Nationwide Insurance onboard camera. Austin Dillon, the Reen camera. Jason Leffler with Craftsman on board with him tonight. Carl Edwards, of course, with Fastenal has been most of the time this season. And Stephen Wallace with the 5-Hour Energy Toyota. All right, let's get the latest update from pit road. First up, Shannon Spake.
Well, Marty, the pit window here tonight is 125 to 130 laps. So this could very well be a 2-pit stop race. And for our points leader, Reed Sorensen, who's starting back in 16th, he told me in Countdown that this could be the place where he makes up spots on the racetrack. You guys mentioned he has this #1 pit stall. It's the smallest pit area in the Nationwide Series. And of course, he has that straight shot to the racetrack, which could be a huge benefit for him tonight. Jim Noble?
Shannon, with opportunity comes responsibility. That's the deal for Michael McDowell tonight. He jumps into that 18 car that seems to find itself in victory lane almost every time that Kyle Busch drives it. McDowell needs a solid night. Hold serve, if you will, because the 18 team is fighting for that all-important Owners Championship. To Richter Brule.
We've talked about the fact we have 6 drivers doing double duty. Usually when you talk to those double duty drivers, they tell you no problem switching from track to track. But today, Trevor Bayne on the radio to his crew during the final practice said, I got to tell you guys, going from there to here is strange, a little odd. And think about this. This track is 5/8 of a mile around. The straightaway at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 5/8 of a mile long. Yeah, it's going to take a little adjustment for him. Marty?
All right, thank you, Rick. Our over-the-wall reporter is Sean Pete. There he is. He's the jackman on the 32 for Reed Sorensen. Sean, we've talked about it already on our broadcast. Very small pit stalls. How do you guys take care of business down there tonight safely?
Well, they laid these things out 30 years ago. The cars are bigger, the guys are bigger, and the stakes are bigger. I mean, you look around, we got a bunch of goons on this pit crew, but these guys are precision operators. They'll be saving space, saving time, and hey, we're Dollar General, we'll be saving money too.
All right, well, you be safe down there, all right?
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you very much. All right, let's also check out our Goodyear track facts for this event. Shannon already mentioned the fuel window. What stands out for you?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a Goodyear track fact, and the fact is tempers are going to fly tonight. That's what's going to happen at this short track. When the tracks get smaller, the tempers start flying, and Ricky, I expect it to happen.
You know what, Rusty? It's hard to pass a driver here without making contact, so I'm going to follow your lead. You got to take care of these fenders. You knock these fenders in because you're trying too hard, you're going to be regretting it before the race is over.
All right, let's listen in on the 6 radio.
Remember, Ricky, we're big picture racing tonight. I know we all want this win, and nobody wants it more than me and you or these guys on this team. We're big picture racing. If it's there, we'll take it. If not, we'll take what we got. Let's have some fun tonight. Remember, the show starts when the lights comes on, man. 10-4, copy that.
And he has selected the high side, which does not surprise either one of you, I'm sure.
No, there's a lot of banking up there. There's more banking on the top of the racetrack than there is in the bottom of the racetrack. That means you can run faster up there. And those guys are going to be fighting for that real estate at the top of the track. But if you're going to pass, you got to get it done down low where nobody's going to be running.
Yeah, that's right, Rusty. I was really curious what he would choose because he should get the jump being the leader, and he should be able to clear Keselowski. But having said that, I'm pretty excited to see the start.
The fans are on their feet. Ricky Stenhouse alongside with Brad Keselowski brings it around turn number 4. Pace car has already pulled off, and as they come down the front straightaway, the Kroger 200 from Lucas Oil Raceway, the 30th year, is green.
A 3 wide off of turn 2. It's going to be interesting.
Everybody's made it so far.
Well, we talked about it. They want to get the job done quick. While these tires are sticky and they got a lot of grip, they want to make as many passes as they possibly can. See Jason Leffler already making a couple passes right there, looking good.
I can tell you Elliott Sadler's picked up about 6 or 7 cars already. You're right, Stenhouse is your leader. There goes Elliott through the shot in that number 2 car. And he has picked up now almost, there he is, alongside the 39 of Matt Fromm. So that is a battle for 30th. So that's 12 positions already in 1 lap.
That's right. Elliott has to take care of business behind the driver's wheel, but he needs a spotter to be looking ahead because see how congested it is here? If there's trouble in front of him, it could be real ugly for him as we watch Carl Edwards working over Justin Allgaier.
Well, and we have a tradition of early cautions here. The first caution's been on lap 8 or earlier in 4 of the last 10 races. So you keep your eyes and ears open early, guys.
Marty, you see Carl Edwards right there working. Justin Allgaier is on the bottom of the track, and Justin knows the fast way around's on top. And Carl's got a fast car. He qualified great. See if he goes to the bottom here, tries to pick up the throttle. And that's what you got to do with this racetrack. Try to get him in the middle because it's hard to pass these cars on entry or exit.
That's what I love about short track racing. You know, this isn't all about the car and balance. This is about driver. This is about throwing the car into the corner. It's about making the car rotate either with your hands or your feet, and you can do it with the brake and the gas and making the pass like Carl Edwards just did.
So it's now Stenhouse, Brad Keselowski, Carl Edwards in 3rd, Justin Allgaier 4th, Jason Leffler rounds out the top 5. Here comes Trevor Bayne putting pressure on Leffler.
Well, Marty, remember one thing, as this track starts, as the sun goes down, it starts changing and getting cooler. You're going to see these cars run faster. You're going to see them handle different. And that's the part of the race I'm most interested in. Right now, they're just kind of logging laps, telling their crew chiefs what's going on and trying to get as many positions as they possibly can.
Let's update you. Jennifer Jo Cobb is the first to take it behind the wall. She was in a backup car loaned to her by Rick Ware Racing. She crashed her primary car in practice this morning, so she is behind the wall.
And a great shot here with Trevor Bayne underneath Jason Leffler. Not able to complete the pass. He pulls in behind him, cools the tires off a little bit, gets to the middle of the corner, evaluates what he has, what he doesn't have at this point. Yeah, he's got good forward bite, Rusty. You notice he's really good up off the corner.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good up off the corner. But just take a look at Brian Scott behind him in the 11 car. While these guys run side by side, they're going to be running slower doing that.
Whoa.
See Brian running up, catching him right there.
Trevor slides up just enough to touch the 38. Doesn't look like either one was damage too much in it, but Trevor ran him up a little higher in the middle of that corner.
Listen, the damage that you can do in 3 or 4 seconds here as far as driver relationships will result in about 10 weeks of anguish if you're not careful.
And we already documented how Jason's been a little hot under the collar after recent incidents. But there's those 3 still going after each other. Leffler, Bain, Scott, 5th, 6th, and 7th.
And you talk about Jason Leffler. He got roughed up a couple times this year, and he's not in the mood to take that.
You just don't like somebody laying on your rear bumper. You just don't like it. You say, all right, if you're faster, go by.
All right, let's check in once again on Elliott Sadler as he has moved up to the 25th position, coming out of turn number 4 right now. He's just gotten around Mike Wallace, and his next victim would be Blake Cook. So he is doing what he needs to do.
Elliott Sadler told me early in the year, Ricky, is going to take 3 wins to win this championship. I asked him this morning, I said, all right, you sticking with it? He said, absolutely. I still believe I got to win 3 races if I'm going to win this championship. He hasn't won any yet, but he's getting closer.
Well, he's had a rear end. They blew up last week in Nashville, Tennessee, a ring gear and pinion that failed. He got in the wall in qualifying, but they got it all fixed. He's back together. I believe he's really focused right now. But one thing I will tell you guys, he's knocking off a lot of cars right now, passing people, but the farther he gets up, the tougher it's going to get. The good cars, he's about to approach.
That's a great point, Rusty.
Well, he's up to 24th position. So he's picked up 18 spots already. There's your top 5 here at Lucas Oil Raceway at Indianapolis. Let's check the motorsports schedule because NASCAR Now presented by 5 Hour Energy on ESPN2 at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then the Brickyard 400 on ESPN at noon Eastern. The telecast is presented by Golden Corral. And then later in the night at 11 Eastern on ESPN2, the Fram Autolite NHRA Nationals, the finals with NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable Edition, 5 Eastern on ESPN2. And our next stop next weekend at Iowa. Looking forward to it. It'll be another night race, 7 Eastern on ESPN2. We have knocked down 18 of the 200 laps, and we have already got our race leader, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's led from the drop of the green flag. He is about to put Matt Fromm a lap down, as Fromm is running 32nd. We should also update you, O'Quinn, Chapman, Harmon, Wimmer, Lewandowski, Miller, and Cobb all behind the wall.
Tell you what, I've been seeing these guys run side by side, lap after lap, trying to pass each other. Whoa. See Boucher on the very bottom on the apron, Steve Wallace up top getting a slingshot underneath. And I tell you, when you run side by side like this at this track, because this track lets you do that, man, sometimes it gets hair-raising. You get really upset as a driver because you want to clear that guy and get gone. But I've been watching 4 or 5 of these guys do this so far.
Well, Buescher's had a good weekend. He was 3rd in the ARCA race 2 nights ago, 2nd in the truck race last night. And that was a nice little slide job, although Steven did a nice job on the return, and they're still going after each other.
Steven did a great job when a car drives underneath you like that. As we watch, this is quite a battle also. Austin Dillon battling with Mike Annett.
That's for 8th.
Okay, they've both been running almost identical speeds side by side every single lap, back and forth trying to pass each other. And I tell you, I've really been impressed with Austin Dillon. This kid, really young guy, has been doing a fantastic job in this particular car in his truck that he's been running on the Truck Series.
Yeah, he had a tough break last night in the truck race. Todd Bodine slid right up into him late in the race. He had a truck that could win. He ended up finishing 9th in that one. But right now, he is duking it out with Michael Annett for the 8th spot.
My goodness, look how low he's running, Rusty. Now, you know, as flat as that is. And you got Elliott Sadler battling on the outside of Reed Sorensen, our point leader. And he says, okay, 3 wide. That's interesting. Shannon, what do you have for us on the 2?
Yeah, guys, I did catch up with Ernie Cope when they were busy working on that number 2 car, and it was all hands on deck. The 33 team came over. They were helping. Elliott Sadler was underneath that car, stayed with the team until the driver's meeting. I asked Ernie why they decided to stick with this primary and not go to the backup. Of course, time was definitely not on their side. They had to get it ready before they were able to come out here. He also said it was really only physical damage to that car. They were able to fix that up. They replaced the spoiler. They replaced the splitter, and they felt that the car was so good in practice. Ernie Cope told me he really wasn't that worried. He felt confident that Elliott Sadler could get to the front. And guys, he's very quiet over the radio. He is hard at work.
And this can't do much for Sorensen's confidence to see the guy that started dead last already passing him as the points leader, and he is going in the wrong direction. Here's the battle for 2nd right now, on board with Carl Edwards, right ahead of Brad Keselowski.
14's been slow up top.
I expected Carl Edwards to come flying through the front and stay up front. All they qualified good. But Keselowski right there, these two have been kind of the class of the field in the Nationwide Series this year. They've been bumper to bumper almost every single race. So I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I do expect these guys to stay up front all night long. They got two of the best teams out there, guys.
They do indeed. Carl Edwards is second, but he's 3 seconds behind on a track that's a 23-second lap. I'll tell you what, Ricky Stenhouse is laying them down right now.
He has led every lap, and it's something that Carl Edwards has noticed as well. Let's listen.
What's Ricky doing for the line, Jason? He's got his hands full, absolutely similar to you. Quarter lane lower getting into the corner, and I guess a quarter lane lower through the center. But other than that, it's pretty even line-wise.
A quarter of the lane lower means that his car's rotating a little bit better. It means that he can be aggressive with the steering wheel on corner entry and get that car to snap around, make its rotation, and drive straight off the corner.
And Marty, one thing you got to remember, we talked earlier in our show, this is the very first time ever for this NASCAR new car, the Nationwide car, to run here. These guys do not know what they need yet out of those cars. And I'm sure the drivers will be moving lines all over the place, finding out where their car runs best at on this track.
As the battle for 8th is shaping up right there again, let's update you also. Jeff Green is taking it behind the wall. Setzer and Mark Green as well. So add them to the list. Here is that battle between the 62 of Michael Annett that's been going on for several laps now.
You know, a lot of times a young driver drives like a bull in a china closet. You don't see that out of Austin Dillon. That's what you said a moment ago, Rusty. He impresses you. That's why he impresses me. He drives so much further ahead than most young drivers, and he understands and anticipates what might be coming, and very impressive.
You know, Ricky, when you see him running side by side like this every lap at this track, you got to wonder if somebody's going to slip and get up and take another car out accidentally. But, the drivers do know one thing about this particular track. They could run side by side lap after lap because that's the way the track is designed. Flatter on the bottom, more banked up at top. And they've all run different style of races here, and it's not a big surprise to them that they can run side by side and not get mad at each other.
And you still got to understand your limitations, and I think that's where drivers get into trouble on the short tracks is when they get frustrated and try to complete a pass by driving in too deep, slide up into them, and then that just gets the chain reaction going where they're like, all right, if you take a little bit of my car, I'm going to take a little bit of yours. We haven't seen a lot of that yet, but I bet we will before the night's out.
Yeah, we've still got 169 laps to go.
Marty, I'll tell you what, you made a good point, Ricky, about, hey, before the night's out. I will promise you when it gets dark, that's when the demons come out. These cats get crazy, and they start leaning on each other. We see the sparks and the wrecking and all that. It'll happen when it gets darker.
And just to let you know, sunset will be about 9 o'clock Eastern time. And Dillon has decided to tuck back in at least for a bit, maybe give those tires a little bit of a break.
Yeah, that's exactly right. At this point, you got to start giving a little bit of feedback to your crew chief. If the caution comes out, I expect they're going to hit pit road. So you got to be evaluating your car as you're trying to make passes. It gets pretty busy on a small track.
Well, these guys started with one set on the car. These are the same tires these guys qualified. They got 3 sets of tires in the pit area. So after the first stop, they've only got 2 left. So they do have to kind of manage their tires a little bit. But tires, I hear, are very important.
Our race leader, there you see him, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's led all 34 laps. He just put Derek Cope, who's in 23rd, 1 lap down. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Kroger 200, and make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. And we're watching Ricky Stenhouse Jr. put on a clinic right now. He has just gone around Matt Fromm for the 2nd time in 30th position. He just put Josh Wise a lap down in 21st position. And guess who is next on the hit list?
Our points leader,
Reed Sorensen. And you're spot on there, Ricky Craven. And that is not what Reed Sorensen wants to hear. There is the 32 car. Let's listen in on his radio.
The stuff in the front end is not working. It's not even close. I can see it.
So something in the front end. Shannon, what are you hearing down there?
Well, guys, just what you hear on the radio, he's really tight through the center. He has already lost 4 spots from his qualifying effort at 16th. He did tell me before the race he felt confident that he could make his way up through the field, but right now it sounds like this team definitely has their work cut out for them.
Well, he went a lap down last week, guys, with an electrical problem. Came back to salvage a very nice run and take over the points lead, but this is not looking good right now.
Yeah, the party's not over for him right now. I mean, he might be going a lap down right now. If the caution comes out, he'll get the lucky dog, come in and make some big changes on the car to get it back in the game. But right now, it's definitely off, but he better hope the caution flies real quick.
Yeah, sometimes it's how you act. Other times it's how you react. How he reacts to getting passed by the leader is critical. I think he could blow the front tires off this thing if he's not careful. He needs Trent Owens to make a big adjustment. Rusty, he's got to be patient, regardless of what just happened, and get to pit road and make a big adjustment.
Yeah, you know, it's got to be aggravating. Heck, he's the points leader. He really thinks he's the man here, and he probably is. He's run good here before. He just got to stay cool right now.
And if you want to check the points right now, Stenhouse would be your points leader. So a lot of things can happen in a brief amount of time. As of right now, after 45 laps, you can see exactly how it would shake out. But as we saw last week, and that's what has been made this season so good, the ebb and flow of this championship is always changing.
And Marty, we're only 46 laps in this thing right now, and you know, we saw Reed Sorensen come in as the leader, and now he's already back to second because of how bad he's running. But that can flop right back around before this race is over.
It's like you said, Marty. It's the ebb and flow. What time does the tide go out?
When the checkered flag falls.
Yes, this is great. All year long, this is the way it's been.
Well, for Ricky Stenhouse, he has now led the last 63 laps on the short tracks dating back to Iowa. Remember, he led the final 18 there. So he's obviously got that car dialed in. And here's another guy that's dialed in, Elliott Sadler. Remember, he started 42nd. He is up to 13th, guys.
I tell you what, he won over his team today. He acknowledged to the world he made a mistake, didn't make excuses, then he jumps in, starts working on the car.
Here, buddy.
We got a caution out right now. That's going to save Elliott Sadler.
That's exactly what he wanted. And Reed Sorensen. Sorensen will get the lucky dog, and Sadler was 19 seconds behind the race leader. So the debris caution on the racetrack, we'll try and pick up where it is.
Major problem. This is unbelievable.
Okay, this caution couldn't come at a better time.
Track bar just is not going to fix.
So remember, they were talking about track bar, and they changed it earlier today. On
he made track bar changes, front sway bar changes today. A lot of changes out there. Like I was about to say, this caution come at the perfect time for a lot of people. And we're, you know, what are we, 48 laps in this thing right now. These guys know how their cars are handling Ricky, and they know what changes to make in them right now to get them back in the hunt.
Yeah, they don't have much time to get this, to download this feedback as we see the drivers hitting pit road. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Carl Edwards, Brad Keselowski. So these crew chiefs have already decided what they're going to do, whether it's air pressure or make big adjustments.
So everybody comes around on the lead lap, and again, it's the Roush Fenway teammates running 1-2. Carl Edwards is into his pit stall first. Rick?
Carl Edwards, of course, wanted a little more rear grip. They're going to do it with air pressure. Minor adjustment in the back. They cleanly get him out with the Sunoco fuel, so he's in there. They're doing it as clean as possible, and now down to Shannon.
Well, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., your pole sitter, they are going to make an air pressure adjustment. He is a little bit tight, and the car is snapping loose. As far as Brad Keselowski and that number 22 right below, they're going to make an air pressure and a track bar adjustment. They need more grip, and that is a long pit stop for Brad Keselowski, guys.
And Ricky Stenhouse got hung up trying to get out of his pit stall because remember we told you how close they are, and Edwards will retake or take over the top spot with everyone else pretty much holding station until we get down to Austin, Dillon, and McDowell as they pick up 2 positions. Let's go back and show you what happened to the 6 on pit road. Look how close that was.
It's very disruptive for the 6 driver, and oh, look at this, squeezes his way inside that cone.
And there's the race offline with Carl first, Ricky Stenhouse in second. That's the way they finished last week at Nashville. Come back. We'll have the restart for you. Tonight we've got the big race on the little track here at Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Raceway. And let's reset the start for you because our leader is Carl Edwards. The lucky dog went to Reed Sorensen. We have 23 cars on the lead lap. Timmy Hill, Derek Cope, Matt Fromm, Tim Andrews decided to take the wave around, and 3 of those guys, Matt Fromm is still 1 lap down. The other 3 are back on the lead lap. Pace car has pulled off, and Carl Edwards has taken the high side. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. underneath, and we're back to green flag racing.
A couple weeks ago, Ricky Stenhouse struggled on restarts at New Hampshire. Let's see how he handles this one. Underneath Carl Edwards, squares up. I think he might clear him off of 2, Rusty.
Got a lot of momentum on the bottom side, but usually it's the top side that gives you the momentum, but he just comes to the gearbox real good and outruns Edwards, getting down into turn 3 right now.
Boy, and last week at Nashville, Carl had the dominant car over Ricky, couldn't do anything about it. I saw him the day after the race, and he was disappointed about finishing second. I said, do you remember when you weren't even finishing finishing races. He goes, I know. But that's what you like to see in a driver.
Yes, you do. That's very healthy. And these guys measure themselves off of one another. And obviously the Fords are running fast. Look at Trevor Bayne running inside of Justin Allgaier. Jason Leffler kind of stalking both of them from behind, ready to pounce when he decides which lane's going to move.
Whoa,
a little bit of contact
touch there.
He slams in the side of Justin Allgaier, getting off of turn 4 right there. See if cooler heads are going to prevail a little bit. You got to remember one thing, that we had a big reset now. Everybody's worked on their car. We had 4 sticker tires, 4 brand new tires to give you the maximum grip. And everybody wants to make these passes while they've got that on the car. Get it done quick.
That's a good point, Rusty.
Top 3
Seize the moment.
Top 3 are trying to check out on the second group there. And let's get an update on that 16 car of Trevor Bayne. How about it, Rick DeBrule?
Well, when Trevor came in, pretty routine stop, 2 rounds in the left rear, but the problems between he and Justin Leffler apparently continued on pit lane. He felt that Leffler, who was pitting ahead of him, kind of blocked him off. Obviously, there's such a tight pit lane here. No matter what you do, you're going to be in trouble. But Trevor was bothered, saying that he felt that maybe he was a little closer than he had to be. So right now, there's a little distance between them, and I think that's probably the best thing for this race.
Well, and that's the other thing we talked about. Remember, Carl Edwards has that open space that he is able to shoot out of, and Ricky Stenhouse got hung up because of the tight pit stalls.
The little things mean a lot, the intangibles, the things that might not be at the forefront, but at the end of the day, they mean a couple of spots on the racetrack. A great battle here with Carl Edwards on the inside of Keselowski. It's a great look from inside the car. You watch Carl's hands on the steering wheel, turns in, trying to make the car rotate. Now watch him release the wheel as he turns back to the right. So you want to release it to get forward bite.
Yeah, it looks like he had to catch it just a little bit. They got a snappy loose on him on the exit of corner. Hey, Rick, going back to the pit stops you talked about a little while ago about getting, sideways in the pit area because they're so small. I will promise you, after everybody made their first round of pit stops, they kind of logged in their head what they did wrong. Maybe they should stop shorter or be farther out, where to position their car, and that'll really help them on their next stop.
That's great. We get to actually watch a restart.
Well, let's take a look at what happened on that pit stop. We cracked videotape crew found it for us, and there he sort of angled it.
Yeah. And that's painful when you know you're going to leave before the car in front of you, and you got to put it in reverse to back up. That's easily 3 or 4 spots on the racetrack.
And that's how close it was.
And that's how close it's going to be all night.
And the battle continues now between the 16, Trevor Bayne, the 31, Justin Allgaier. And Bayne looks like he's going to be able to clear him, and he does.
And I tell you what, this racetrack is a test of patience. When you run side by side like that, these guys got to be getting upset with each other when you just can't clear them. But that's the way this racetrack is.
That's a great point. That's the advantage of having long straightaways. You get to cool down. These aren't long straightaways. Shannon, what do you have for us on the 31?
Yeah, Justin Allgaier not happy with the car, guys. He came on the radio and said it was worse than practice. They made some major adjustments on that last pit stop. Track bar, air pressure, wedge adjustment. Is there anything else that they could do to the race car? Right now, he is still struggling inside that 31.
Well, I'll tell you what, Shannon. I mean, we watched this happen last week at Nashville with Justin Allgaier, and they worked on that thing throughout the night. And Ricky, when it was all said and done, they brought home a 4th place finish by staying working on it and trying to stay up with the track.
Yeah, look at this action with Austin Dillon and Jason Leffler and Michael McDowell pulling in here behind. But Rusty, I want to go back to your point. They changed a bunch of stuff. How do you know what worked? I didn't like making that many changes on one stop.
Well, now you don't like to do it, but sometimes you got to throw the kitchen sink in it, so to speak, because you just don't want to change something real small. You don't have a lot of time here.
Oh, Austin Dillon went all the way down to the apron, tried to make it work for him, did not. He'll stay in that slot right on the rear bumper and the fender of the 38 of Jason Leffler, and Drew Herring right behind him. So while all this action continues up front, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has opened up a 9/10 of a second lead over Brad Keselowski. And 3 of the top 4 are Roush Fenway. They've got a good night in store so far. Coverage of Major League Baseball continues on ESPN. First on Sunday Night Baseball at 8 Eastern, the Cubs face Albert Pujols and the Cardinals. And then on Monday Night Baseball, the Indians take on Adrian Gonzalez and the Boston Red Sox at 7 Eastern. It's Major League Baseball, ESPN Sunday and Monday night, and both games are also available online at ESPN3.com. Hey, let me get my 18s and my 20s straightened out because Drew Herring was in the 18 last week. He's in the 20 this week, and it's Michael McDowell that was duking it out right behind Leffler and Dillon before the break.
You know, we're watching Ricky Stenhouse here, and he's getting ready to lap the 15 car. I'll tell you what, this looks easy. And you say to yourself, boy, what a day. This is perfect, right? Here's the risk with being this fast. When you're this fast and you're dominating an event, and it starts in the sunlight and it ends at night, then you know the track's going to change, but you're reluctant to adjust the car because you're so fast. So this last stop, or the next to last stop, is going to be critical. Do you make an adjustment or not?
That's a good point. You know, a lot of times you got to, until something happens, you won't change anything. So
right.
And action creates a reaction.
Yeah.
So if he's so fast like he is now, I wouldn't be messing with it, because when the car finally does change, he'll know what to tell the crew chief. Right now he can't tell him everything because it's running perfect.
But it may be at a point where the track's cooled off and he won't be going back to pit road. And that's the risk with being this fast and being out front. You watch Michael Annett here.
Moving a little bit farther back in our coverage as Michael Annett's got his hands full with 30 of Buescher. Those guys duking it out for the 12th position. Also, let's update you. Elliott Sadler has moved up to the 10th spot, as we were talking about Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who is right now moved into the points lead, as we watch the battle with the 38 of Jason Leffler and the 33 of Austin Dillon. But we can also tell you that no help really for Reed Sorensen. That last pit stop, he's still mired back in 18th.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Well, the tough part about it, he got the lucky dog, and when you get that, you have to start tailback behind all the cars again. And so he didn't gain any track position. He's still stuck back there. But what he's got to hope now is that his lap times are going to improve, and he's got just a better car. And Marty, on the next stop, hopefully they get a good pit stop for him. He can gain some positions.
Austin Dillon trying again to get underneath Jason Leffler, but that's the unique characteristics that we've talked about here at Lucas Oil Raceway.
It's interesting. I raced against Austin Dillon's dad. I don't know Austin's mom, but they must be some wonderful parents, because he's driving awfully polite. You know, he's showing a lot of being very courteous as he's driving along these veterans here.
I just started to say that. I said, boy, these guys are being awful kind to each other. We're at a short track. They're supposed to be kind of roughing each other up a little bit, but they're not doing any of that right now. Everybody's just kind of logging the laps and trying to get themselves positioned and get their cars tuned up for late in the race.
Cars look awfully pretty for a short track, don't they?
We're working lap 78. We've only had 2 leaders, and they've both been Roush Fenway drivers. Ricky Stenhouse for 74 and counting, and Carl Edwards for 4. 3 of those were under caution. A total of 11 cars that are now officially out of the race. We gave those names a lot earlier. They pulled off a long time ago, and there goes Austin finally getting around and sealing the deal.
That was a great move there by Jason Leffler, though. He dove to the bottom, and he tried to use that lap car, the 40 car, as a pick. He didn't trap Austin in behind him, but, you know, Jason Leffler's a veteran. He's got a few tricks in his bag.
You know, I was just starting to take a look at Jason Leffler right now. We talked earlier in the show like he needs a good run, and this is one of his best racetracks. To me, it looks like he's got a pretty solid car tonight. I don't see it doing anything stupid. It's handling good. The front end's turning good. They've had a good pit stop. He's doing what it takes right now, and I think he's got a solid foundation in this car now where they can stay tuning on it and chasing that temperature you talked about, Ricky.
Well, and the reason that it's so important, when you look at the Turner Motorsports teams right now, you know, you've got the 32 in second place in the points, the 31 of Allgaier fourth place in points, but he is 100 points back coming in right now, 6th place. He's got to move.
And you know, Turner Motorsports is fascinating. They've won 3 races and led 3 laps with 3 different drivers. We're going to go to Rick for an update on the 16.
Well, talk about Trevor Bayne and the fact that a little while ago he was complaining, saying the car can't turn in on the center. However, his crew chief, Chris Andrews, was saying, wait for it. The track will come to us. And apparently that's exactly what happened. They've dialed the car in so where it's going to get better through the course of this run. And in talking with Chris Andrews, I was saying, would you rather come to this track with a new car, with a team that knew what they were doing, or with a driver that liked this track? He said when you got a new car, it's the driver that's the key. He's comfortable. He knows the track. Because they're not running the same car last year, he says it's the driver that's the key.
I know one thing right now, Ricky and all the Roush Fenway guys, they're 3 of the top 4. And when you look at what happened over at the big track today, it has been a big weekend so far for Roush Fenway because David Reagan took the pole over there.
Yeah, and it's great. We're not celebrating yet, right? Pole's one thing, wins is another. But I agree with Chris Andrews' assessment. Listen, on the short track, you can only adjust these cars so much. The driver has a tremendous influence on what he can do with the race car. Again, you can throw these cars in and out of the corners on the short tracks.
Well, and what's also interesting, when we were on earlier today during our practice broadcast, we were talking about how Roush Fenway was struggling this year on the flat tracks, on the short tracks, and here they are. They have now found something here tonight.
Marty, I will tell you, this is a whole different organization, Roush Fenway, from what they were last year. All of these Mustangs they're running now with all these drivers, they have definitely got something figured out. They're all handling good. And then, look, let's talk about it. I mean, Ricky Stenhouse had a heck of a problem last year. And this year it's like they turned a switch on and completely changed. This kid has done a good job. Trevor Baines did a good job. But Roush Fenway, Jack Roush, and his guys have put some real hot rods under these guys' cars to get them going.
They really have. You know, you can see Trevor trying to take a higher line on the corner entry. And that's suggesting to me that his car isn't rotating through the middle. So he's using that banking to his advantage.
Well, we were talking about Ricky Stenhouse. He has now led 82 laps tonight here at Lucas Oil Raceway. And we were talking about the difference between last year and this year. And you can see a huge difference, especially when you look at top 10s. 15, 8 of them in the top 5 with the 1 win. He's led 207 laps and counting. Looking down at Lucas Oil Raceway as we have knocked down 93 of 200 laps. And let's take a look at our ESPN NASCAR race summary. Our leader is Ricky Stenhouse. He's led a total of 90 of those laps so far, as Carl Edwards has led 4. And we have 2 lead changes, just 1 caution for 5 laps. And the points leader right now would be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. by 14 over Reed Sorensen and 21 over Elliott Sadler. So there is the man who won back at Iowa and is currently leading this race. He is trying to make his way around Josh Wise, who is already 2 laps down in 23rd position. In second place, his Roush Fenway teammate, the man who's won 5 times this year, including last week at Nashville, the 60 of Carl Edwards. He's 3 seconds back. Dropped back another 3 seconds to Trevor Bayne, who's sat on pole here twice, but is still looking for that elusive first Nationwide Series career win. His best career finish in the series has been 3rd. And of course, Brad Keselowski. In the pre-race show, you heard him talk about the fact this has not been a kind track to him. His best finish here is 4th. That's back in 2009. And why don't we go up to speed with Nationwide Insurance for the rest of the field with Justin Allgaier in 5th. Shannon?
Justin Allgaier 5th on the racetrack. He came into this race 4th in the points, as you see the 33 trying to make that move down low. He was 30 out from the lead, so his crew chief told me because of that, they started to get a little more aggressive with their setup. He says, we have got to improve. Everybody else is starting to catch up and doing better on the racetrack. We need to do the same. Now, as far as Austin Dillon in that yellow 33 car trying to make the pass right now, this is his 3rd start this season in the Nationwide Series. All 3 of those, he has had top 10 finishes. His crew chief, David Hyder, told me he's been so impressed with how Austin has improved and matured on the racetrack. He said, especially because he knows what he wants out of the car, and he's able to figure that out during practice, so when they hit the track, they're good to go. Rick?
Well, Jason Leffler not happy with the car at this point in time, said he's lacking grip, no forward bite. When they came in, they made a track bar adjustment. Now remember, he has a victory on this track. In fact, that victory was his last victory that he had. It has been 138 races since his victory here in 2007. During practice today, he sat out for quite a while they did some major adjustments, hoping they could get a good, solid, race-ready car. It's close, but it's not where they want it just yet. Shannon?
Elliott Sadler in the top 10. He started the race all the way in the 42nd position after crashing in qualifying. His crew chief, Ernie Cope, was not too concerned. He said they felt that they had a very good car. But guys, he has had problems inside that race car during this race. They've had mechanical issues, and he's had to shut down the cooling system. But right now, he's holding strong in that top 10. Rick?
Michael McDowell is driving the same number 18 car that Kyle Busch won with in Phoenix and Bristol. Right now, his only issue, the car gets loose when he puts 2 tires below the white line. McDowell would love to drive down low. He thinks he can pass people down there, but it's been awfully tough to do so thus far. Rick?
Eric Almirola, remember it was last year at this track where he had such a great run. Did very well. It was his first race with JR Motorsports, finished third. He's trying to recreate that magic. He's been actually pretty happy with the car today. The last time around, he said he was trying to work for front grip. They made a track bar adjustment, could have put a couple rounds in. As a result, the car is a little closer than where it needs to be. The main thing for him is to try to get it back where he needs to be track-wise, but he likes this track, he knows this track, and he thinks that can make a difference. Jim?
Michael Annett in that 62 car, pretty much business as usual thus far, has not had a whole lot to say. He's been told by crew chief Ricky Byers to work that bottom all night long. He is free on exit, and he's a little loose in the middle of the turn so far, but thus far, Michael Annett likes that number 62 Toyota.
So that gets you up to speed with the cars there in the top 11. Right now, Kenny Wallace is the last car on the lead lap in 18th, as Mike Bliss and David Stremme have just gone down a lap to that man right there, the number 6 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., as he has now led a total of 100 laps, and we're past halfway. Ricky Stenhouse is trying to make this his own personal show tonight here at Lucas Oil Raceway, as he has knocked down a total of 106 laps led here, and we are working lap number 112. His lead over his teammate Carl Edwards is 2.2 seconds. Trevor Bayne is running third. Justin Allgaier is now fourth. And boy, with Roush Fenway Racing running 1, 2, and 3, that's never happened in their career where they finish like that. Drop back a little bit here. There's Allgaier, Dillon, that's 4th and 5th. And look who is in the 6th place, guys. The number 2, Elliott Sadler.
I tell you, he's come flying through the field. This car is definitely working real good. But on another point, Marty, one thing I'm watching, the lap times are really not falling off that much, and this race is flying by right now. We've only got 88 laps to go in this race. I got a feeling if the caution comes out, they're going to put some tires in these things and drive them to the end, because track position, Ricky's going to be so important. I'd be scared of putting 4 on and get myself back. If there is another caution, you know, maybe 2 tires, keep that track position, something like that. Some race strategy is going to play out here, guys.
Yeah, you're right. You can't afford to lose that. We watched Jason Leffler's rear bumper cam. Michael McDowell is stalking him. We got a caution on the track. Looks like we got some debris, Marty.
Yes, and we had just run 60 laps under green. Our second caution comes out here as we have completed 114 laps. And for Ricky Stenhouse, his 3.4 second lead is going to evaporate.
Whew, that saves Drew Herring, who was about to go down a lap. That will probably give the wave around to Mike Bliss.
Yeah, he'll get the lucky dog, so that'll put him back on the lead lap. That'll be 18 cars. And we'll have to wait and see exactly how many guys will take the wave around.
Tell you what, they just open up the pits right now, and the field's still catching up. This is going to get a lot of them stuck. A lot of them way behind. I thought it looks to me like they opened the pits up way too fast that time.
Pit road speed is 35 miles an hour, and let's send it to Rick DeBrule.
Well, Carl Edwards bringing it in. Big debate with the team. At one point, the team wanted to make some big changes. Carl said, no, don't do it. All I want you to do is change the tires, work on the air pressure adjustment. Remember, he's got that grade in, so he's got a quick way to go out. Meanwhile, you've got Trevor Bayne, who came in. He says the car's coming to him. He likes it a little bit. They don't want to make major changes. They just want to do what they need to do to get him back out.
Ricky Stenhouse has been out front all race, but they are still struggling with the setup right now. Tight in, they're going to make an air pressure adjustment, Sunoco fuel, and he is down and away, guys.
The race off pit road, and look at Michael Annett. 2 tires stop, and he picks up 8 positions. And Carl Edwards, Trevor Bayne drop 1 each. Everybody else takes 4 tires except Michael Annett, and we're going to get our first look at seeing how that is going to work out for him. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has no trouble with his pit stop this time. He comes back out right where he started, in the lead.
Race day.
Back here at Lucas Oil Raceway, where we are in the midst of our second caution period, as it has been not quite the race that we all thought. We thought we'd have a little more caution because we thought there'd be a little more rubbing. Everybody's been treating each other with a lot more respect tonight. And right now we've got an update, though, on the 38 because they had the hood up on that car, and we heard about fuel pressure issues. What are you hearing, Rick?
Yeah, the biggest problem is the hood was up on the second time the team came in. The first time they came in, did a pretty routine stop. Second time they went back out. They said the fuel pressure gauge was pegged. They were concerned that there was a problem with that. Now, I don't know that they fixed it. They came in, they looked at it, did not appear to do any major work under the hood. At this point in time, they've sent him back out, but I think they got a mystery on their hands, and they're concerned as to what's going to happen with it.
Well, he is 18th right now at the tail end of the lead lap. Let's talk to our in-race reporter. Elliott Sadler is up to 6th from 42nd.
Elliott Sadler, Rusty Wallace, you got us?
Yeah, 10-4.
Tell you, buddy, you're flat flying, man. You come from the back of the pack all the way up to 6th. That thing must be handling pretty good for you.
Man, you know how it is, Rusty. We got a great team behind us, and they did a lot of hard work today to get this thing fixed. And got us a little track position here, so I hope we can hold on to it. The car's pretty good. We need to get it a little bit better, but we're pretty good right now, so hopefully we can go after them right here.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
All right, we told you Mike Bliss got the lucky dog, so he's back on the lead lap. 2 waiver rounds, the 15 of Timmy Hill, the 13 of Matt Fromm. They're both multiple laps down. Hill 4, Fromm 5. All right, let's reset it for you because you got Stenhouse and Annette in row number 1. Stenhouse is going to take the high side. In row number 2, it will be Edwards and Bain. Row 3, you've got Dillon and Elliott Sadler. Then Allgaier, McDowell in row 4, and Almirola and Scott rounding out your top 5 rows. Green flag's in the air, and we just got word Drew Herring too fast entering. He's going to have to do a pass through.
Marty, one thing I want to take a look at is Michael Annett with 2 right side tires and see how that works out for him, because these lap times have not been falling off much for these guys, and this might have been a real cool move for him. And a lot of competitors are probably watching how his car's operating on just 2 tires.
Rusty, if his car was loose, 2 tires will help him. If his car was tight before the stop, 2 tires are going to make him tighter.
Well, right now he's got Carl Edwards on the low side, and right behind him is Elliott Sadler in the 2, and he is slipping as he got loose coming out of 2.
You know, the reason it's always tightens you up is because the left side tires have so much air pressure in them. You watch Carl Edwards driving all the way to the bottom, and Elliott Sadler's thinking about splitting them. Not a good idea. That was smart. Just settle in.
While all this is going on, and you can see Carl trying to take over that 3rd spot. You see right up ahead, the top 2 are trying to ease their way out.
Hardest thing on a short track is when you have a horse, a real fast race car, and they're side by side in front of you. You got to pull back on the reins, and that's hard to do.
Well, and it's really hard to do late in the race right now with only 7 to 8 laps to go in this race, Ricky. You know, look, I'm not trying to create any drama or anything, but I will tell you, later in the race, the tension's going to get high, and when it gets darker, like I said earlier, these guys get a little bit wild, and I've just kind of got a feeling it's getting ready to start pretty soon.
Elliott Sadler taking a look down low underneath Michael Annett. So far, the 2 tires have not given him the results I think he was looking for. We'll keep our eyes and ears open for what we hear on the radio and see on the track, because here comes Elliott. What a interesting night he is having. Let's check in on the 60 of Carl Edwards. What are you hearing, Rick?
Well, let's go back a little bit and talk about the season that these guys have had. The crew chief, Mike Beam, was saying that so far this year, they didn't feel that they had really done the work they needed to do in terms of mastering the short tracks. He said, in fact, the short tracks are kind of spooking us. But as this way this one's running tonight, they're running up front, they're doing what they need to do. He says part of the key, it's Carl Edwards. He says he's like having a data management machine on the car, something that can give them all the details, the information they need. And the way they did that last pit stop is an example of that. Jim Noble?
Rick, the story behind that 2-tire call for Michael Annett was born out of necessity. Crew Chief Ricky Byron said we were running faster times than the guys in front of us when we were running 8, 9, 10, but we simply couldn't pass anybody. So they rolled the dice. They took 2 tires. Right now, not so sure if that's working out, guys.
All this action continuing. There's Austin Dillon coming underneath the 18 of Michael McDowell with Annett right in front of them.
Yeah, we got a problem on Brad Keselowski. We see some smoke out of the back of that car.
You're starting to smoke pretty bad. Be aware here.
And we saw
like a
him
rear end gear or something.
Right before the caution.
On, temps are water 255, oil 260.
Right before the caution, he was starting to slide back.
You heard 255 water, 260 oil. That's not reason for alarm. So the smoke. Here. That's mysterious. You know, it could have been blowing out of the tank. Could be a little back pressure there or something unusual, but usually the smoke doesn't go away.
Yeah, it did this time for whatever reason, but you're exactly right that it never does. Maybe you got to think maybe some tire rubber got built up an exhaust pipe or something and causes a lot of smoke. I've seen that many times in this track. It looks like whatever happened has fixed itself now.
The engine's not overheating with the numbers he just gave to us. It's a little high on the water, but again, it's not something that you cannot manage.
Austin Dillon still riding that low line, trying to make it work for him as the track continues to cool, the sun sets. And Dillon finds himself running in the 7th position right behind the 18 of Michael McDowell.
Yeah, and Michael Annette's hanging in there in 5th. And, you know, sometimes you got to, if you're going to gamble, you got to gamble now. The 2 tires, I don't know, maybe it is working for him. It will start to even out as the pressures even out on this 62 car.
You know, guys, I want to talk about something we never talk about. Look at this racetrack, how they're racing all over. They're on the bottom, they're in the middle, they're top, and I think one reason they can do that, look at the multiple banking angles. It's banked more in the top, not as much in the bottom. It gives them more opportunity to run where they want to instead of just a straight banked angle track where you're dead on the bottom or dead on the top all the time. This place has got a lot of options.
That's right. Drivers love options, don't they?
I did.
18 of Michael McDowell side by side with the 62. They go down the backstretch. Annette gets good bite going down that towards turn 3 and is able to hold on to the spot. Austin Dillon's going to change his line. He's going to come on the high side of the 18.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, if we go to the toward the front of the pack here, you can see that Trevor Bayne is actually starting to match Ricky Stenhouse. He's got about a 2.5 lead, Marty, but boy, he's as strong as anybody's been.
Well, it is a Roush Fenway route right now with 67 to go. They have the top 3 spots. They've never swept a race like this. Could it be tonight? Well, thanks, Sal. And boy, we're having a great night here as Elliott Sadler is putting on a show. He started 42nd in this field in our 5-hour energy rapid recap, and he has moved all the way up to 4th. And it's been some typical short track racing, although the guys haven't been roughing each other up all that much. Green Sorensen's had a rough night, went down a lap early in the race. He's running 14th right now, and it has been Ricky Stenhouse just dominating. He's led 137 of the 141 laps that we have run so far tonight. And it is a Roush Fenway sweep right now. 1, 2, and 3 with Stenhouse, Bayne, and Edwards in the top 3 spots, with Sadler now 4th, 5.2 seconds behind the race leader.
I tell you, I love it when I'm in position like this, like Ricky Stenhouse. He hasn't really raced anybody all night long. He's just been logging lap after lap, and that car's really been working good. See a battle for 12th right here. Steve Wallace gets around Eric Almirola on this one. Now he's setting his sight on James Boucher and Brian Scott.
And that is Reed Sorensen. He was the points leader coming into tonight's race. Check on the battle for 5th. Michael Annette trying to hold off Austin Dillon.
Yeah, Michael Annette's done an outstanding job. We talked about if he could hold on as he sees the right rear kick out on the corner exit. But if he could hold on long enough on the 2 tires, the right side pressures would build up. Remember, those were new on the stop. And this thing would settle out or even out for him. And it's done that. Austin Dillon is giving him quite a run here.
Ricky, his lap times that Michael Annette's been running are very, very close to what they were running on 4 tires when he put 4 tires on earlier in the race. So he hasn't lost much right here, but what he's been able to do with this 2-tire gamble is hold his track position. He might lose a little bit, but not near as much if he would have put 4 tires on.
That's something we hadn't talked about, guys, but you know, if we were to go green the rest of the way, these guys going to be a little close on fuel?
No, I think they're going to be good on fuel. I mean, these guys can run about 115, 125 laps on fuel, Ricky. I don't think fuel's an issue at all right now.
So with that in mind, that could punish the 62 a little bit. I think they were banking on maybe another stop. So, you know, those left side tires will have gone over 140 laps, won't they?
Well, our last pit stop was a 115. We got 55 to go right now, so not that much on the tires. I think they're in good shape. But I tell you, Goodyear's brought a good tire.
They absolutely have. I thought the left side tires were a little hard when the weekend began, but some great racing.
How'd you like to be Michael McDowell in that 18? He is watching these 2, and he's saying, guys, will you please settle this? Because I can't get around either one of you.
It can be a little distracting.
You talk about a guy that's had extreme patience all night long. It's these 2 right here, Annette and Dillon. They've been racing each other pretty smart throughout the night. And you see Michael McDowell right there. He just knows that they can run as fast as each other side by side on this track with a multiple groove banking. It's working for him.
Well, let's get an update on that 33 of Austin Dillon. How about it, Shannon?
Well, they have been working on the car slightly, trying to get it to roll the center a little bit. But you notice Austin Dillon, Ricky, you talked about it earlier, the fact that he loves to run that bottom line. And that's one thing that his crew chief, David Hyder, told me earlier today, is that he loves to be down there, and that is where he can make those passes. He and the 62 have just been going at it lap after lap. And remember, he was in the truck race last night. Started on the pole, finished ninth, so he's had a lot of laps at this track and a lot of experience so far this weekend.
And he's trying to get around him, and it may be going into 3. Can he slide up in front of him?
Yeah, he's in good shape now. He'll clear him off the exit of this corner, taking the shorter way around.
Well, and she talked about his performance last night, and he has cleared him. His performance in the Nationwide Series has been spectacular. 3 races, a 7th, a 10th is his worst, and a 3rd last week at Nashville.
Yeah, you know, Austin Dillon he's rolled up his sleeves, and he's just jumped right into this. He's putting in a hard day's work. The bottom of the racetrack is a much more difficult line than the higher banked top of the racetrack.
And speaking of the bottom, you see the 18 of Michael McDowell. He's trying to do the slide job on the 62. Couldn't get it done. Let's drop back a little farther. Pick up the 31 of Justin Allgaier and Brian Scott. That's a position battle for 9th.
Hey, I just cannot believe how close everybody's running. I'm watching our timing and scoring right here. And I'm telling you, everybody from 4th through 18th are running within a 1/2 of a 1/10 of a second. But with this new design car, Ricky, we've seen this in the Cup Series. We've seen this in a Nationwide Series. There's not a big difference in these cars. And we're watching this lap times, and it's one of the reasons it's very, very hard to pass, because they all got the same hot rod, I call it.
Well, that's when you use the front bumper, right? Like you said earlier, we're going to see some action. We got some action here, the battle for 6th. You know, Michael McDowell going at it with Michael Annette. The drivers, we're inside 50 to go now, the drivers will get a little narrow-minded. They'll get a little selfish, because now it comes down to points. How many points am I taking home? This is the money time, and a position means something. It means a point.
Jim Noble, you're tracking that 62 car. What are they saying about this 2-tire change?
Well, at first, Ricky Byers told Michael Annette, boy, you got what you got. You're going to have to live with that 2-tire change. But then, just as Ricky said a little while ago, seems like the air pressures have come up. Michael Annette reports the car is a lot better. He passed Michael McDowell back a couple of laps ago. Now it looks like McDowell is trying to do the same thing.
All right, Jim, thank you. That's these guys now all of a sudden, look at the 22 of Brad Keselowski. He's found some new life after we saw that puff of smoke. He has moved back into the 8th position, and no more smoke.
I'm baffled by that. I'll tell you. And that wasn't just a little bit of smoke. That was a lot of smoke.
Well, there's your race leader. That's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Boy, he has led 151 laps. Kyle Busch led 197 of 200 when he won here back in 2008.
Done.
Welcome back to the Kroger 200. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. And the drag strip in the foreground, big Labor Day race, the U.S. Nationals here. And, of course, our race tonight in the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Lucas Oil Raceway. As we are knocking them down, we've only had 2 cautions, 2 leaders, 2 lead changes. It seems to be the magic number. Except number 6 is the man in front, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He has led 158 laps. And here are the most laps led in a single race this year. Kyle Busch has got 2 of them. Carl has the other 2. And look at Ricky knocking him off.
Yeah, it's pretty good company, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anytime that you can be in the same category as Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards and statistics, positive statistics, that's good company.
Well, and his man behind him there, Trevor Bayne in 2nd, and Carl Edwards in 3rd. And listen in on Carl's radio.
What's Ricky doing? He changes every lap. He's the most similar to you than the other 2. Right there, he just straddles that first set of hash marks off the corner at both ends, straddles them. Enters like you, through the center like you pretty much, and then straddles that first set of hash marks. Doesn't go as low as the 2 car behind you.
when you're a young driver and you look up to the guys around you, your teammates, like a Carl Edwards, who's won 19 Sprint Cup Series races. He's the current points leader in the Sprint Cup. It's quite a compliment to have that driver, Carl Edwards, wonder and ask the spotter where you're running.
That just goes to show how smart he is, too. He doesn't care who's leading the race. The guy leading right now is the fastest car on the track, and he wants to know what he's doing so he can do the same thing. Pretty smart.
Let's get an update on the 60. Rick DeBrule.
Well, and the most telling conversation of the whole night may have happened a little while ago between Carl Edwards and his crew chief. Carl said, you know, he said, I thought we would be a little better tonight. They really want a pit stop so they can make one last adjustment to see if they could do something. If it runs the way it runs, I just don't think, listening in on the radio, that they think they have what it takes.
You know, it's interesting, guys. This right now, you got to be careful giving your crew chief information because they've had a long green flag run, and you don't want to adjust your car to how it's driving right now. And the reason why is because if we have a caution and they come in, we're only going to have a short run to the end.
I'm not sure we're going to have another caution. The fewest cautions in 2011 has been 3. That's happened in 5 races. We've had 2 tonight. And if you want to know what the record is here, 0. Back in 1985, Jimmy Hensley won the race. He was driving for Howard Thomas back then.
Now, Marty, go ahead and call me wrong, but I think we're going to get another one.
You do?
I do. I mean, we're at a short track. It always happens.
If we get another one, do they come? They come to pit road?
Oh, heck yeah. They'll come down pit road, but I think you'll see a lot of 2-tire stops. I really do.
Just remember, it didn't happen last night in the truck race. They ran 111 green flag laps to end that one. Might just happen again.
No, again, I'm not trying to start any drama, but I just think it's going to happen.
Let's check in on the battle for 7th as you see Michael Annett. Remember, he took the 2 tires on the last pit stop.
Look at the brakes glowing on the 18 car, the left front. It tells you he's driving deep in the corner. The car's not turning as well, so he uses the brake to set the nose. And
so you've got Annett in 6th, Michael McDowell in 7th, Brad Keselowski in 8th.
A little wiggle there as he's going back to the gas. And Brad Keselowski really hadn't shown a lot of muscle tonight, but he's also not faded like he did early in the race. We saw that big puff of smoke about 30 laps ago and hadn't seen any since.
Yeah, you know, we talked earlier, though, Ricky, this is a short track, and these guys, Brad Keselowski, Carl Edwards, guys like that have been dominating on these 1.5-mile tracks. You get down to these 5/8 mile short tracks, it's a great equalizer. A lot of these guys run a lot better than you anticipated, meaning that I really didn't expect Brad Keselowski just to drive off and beat everybody because a lot of them are as good as he is on these short tracks.
So true, Rusty. Where did we learn the fundamentals? On these type of racetracks,
absolutely.
Right?
This is where we all cut our teeth.
Well, remember at the beginning of the broadcast, we talked about brakes. Tim Brewer over in the Craftsman Tech Garage told us how important they are. Well, the other thing that happens as these races, especially where we have these long green flag runs, well, the beads can be heating up as well. Let's get more from Tim over the Craftsman Tech Garage.
When the driver uses way too much brakes, he's going to heat up and melt the bead of the tire. Where's the bead located? Right here. This band of steel seals the air pressure inside the tire. Now, this rotor's 1,300 degrees, but when it gets extremely hot right here, this is what's going to be the end result. It's going to melt the bead of the tire.
All right, Tim. So far, we have not seen that happen tonight, but it is still a very warm evening, and these guys are going lap after lap after lap.
Yeah, that's a great job by Tim Brewer. Great description. And when you're inside the cars, we watch. Whoa, Steve gets a little bit loose.
I tell you, he's been trying to pass the 30 car Buscher lap after lap, and this is the race right now. These guys have been side by side, lap after lap. See Steven on the apron, almost in the grass, trying to get some forward bite there.
That's for 11th, 12th, and 13th with 27 laps to go.
Yeah, and going back to the brakes, if you abuse the brakes, it'll take its toll on that right front tire, and you'll start to lose the front grip, and then it just compounds from there. You won't be able to run low all the way through the corner like Steve is here if you've abused the right front tire.
All this action continues now with 26 laps to go, and there's the race leader as Stenhouse. He's got only 17 cars total on the lead lap as we've been mean, lean, and green. We're under a red flag situation here at Lucas Oil Raceway. We were sailing right up until this moment. We have a 3-car incident involving the 40 of Tim Andrews, who was multiple laps down. In fact, a total of 5 laps at the time of the crash. The 62 of Michael Annett, who was running 6th, and the 66 of Stephen Wallace, who was running in the 11th spot. And as you can see, we got 3 race cars that are torn up. All right, let's show you what happened. it's already in progress there, and there's Steven as he just couldn't get it turned.
And Steven got a little bump from the 30 car and through the car. He watched this. It's like this is a little late, but he had gotten a bump through the car on the right rear. Had to turn right to try to save the car and drifted right into
the 40 car and the 62 car got together somehow. Were parked backwards up against the wall. See the 30 car and the 66 racing. The 30 hit the 66 in the back a little bit, and there was nowhere for anybody to go. Massive wreck here.
Yeah, if we go back a little bit earlier, we can see that there was contact with the 30 and the 66 because neither of them could get slowed down. And believe me, the spotters jump on the radio and say, shut it down, shut it down.
And here's what you were talking about a little bit earlier, down the backstretch.
Down the backstretch, and the spotters identify it. They jump on the radio, a little bump at the same time. That's where it throws the 66 over on the right rear. See the left front tire? He's turning to the right. Nothing he could do.
Yeah, I mean, that was just racing between the 30 and the 66. The 30 bumped the 66. Got him sideways. The 66 was trying to get down below a net, and he was already sideways from the bump, and this happened. We need to go back and try to find out what happened to the 62 and the 40. That was a massive crash before these guys got to it.
Let me be clear. James Busher did absolutely nothing wrong.
That's right.
Typical short track racing where you just can't shut down quick enough.
Yeah, now we do not have the beginning of this crash between the 40 and the 62. I know it's rare. The fact we had one incident last year that we didn't see from beginning to end, and this is our first one this year. So we'll have to wait and get the chance to talk to Michael Annett and to Tim Andrews to get their versions as to what started this. We saw the tail end involving the 66, and we're under a red flag. Under a red flag situation here at Lucas Oil Raceway after a 3-car incident involving what's left of the 62 of Michael Annett, the 40 of Tim Andrews, and the 66 of Stephen Wallace, as all 3 cars are on the hook. And we've got the back end of this deal as the 66 just could not get low enough on the track to avoid the contact.
It's just a matter of the 66 Stephen Wallace identifying that there's a wreck there early, gets out of the gas, and James Busher tries to get out of the gas at the same time. A little bit of contact and pushes
the
him.
40 and the 62 are crashed up against the wall. Both of these drivers, the 30 and the 66, are trying to get down below the accident, trying to get on the brakes, and just get sideways.
Yeah, you could see the front wheels. Stephen just was not able to get it to turn.
Well, he was steering into the spin, and that's the only option you have on corner entry. And eventually the wall comes to you.
Well, let's check in with Jim Noble. He has caught up with Steve Wallace.
All right, I hate to use the term innocent bystander because Steve Wallace had a pretty good run going and you were getting better. What did you see in front of you?
I don't really know what happened, man. Our Fiber Energy Toyota, we kept working on it all night long, kept making it better and better. And my spotter came on the radio, said there's a crash in front of you. And at that time, me and James Busher were racing hard. We raced for about 15, 20 laps. I finally got underneath of him, got him cleared. And he bumped me a little bit getting into turn 3, and at the same time, my spotter said, check up, check up, check up. And I got in the brakes, and the car got sideways, and it just slid all the way through the corners, and nothing I could do. I tried to nail it, to accelerate away from Michael, and just one of those racing deals. I hate it for both of our cars, the pilot car was running good, and the 5-hour car, we were making it better. It's just one of those things, man. It sucks.
You've been down this road before, and I know it's very frustrating. How are you feeling right now?
I'm ready to go the next week, man. We're going to build us another car and, get those things tuned up for Iowa. Iowa's one of my favorite racetracks, and we're going to build another fast 5-hour Toyota and, keep on digging to the end of the year.
All right, that's Steve Wallace, obviously frustrated, on to Iowa for that team.
Well, the reason he's frustrated also is he's been good here at Lucas Oil Raceway. In 4 prior starts, he has 3 top 10s, one of those in the top 5.
Yeah, well, I tell you, it's a hard lump to swallow here, but it's a product of the environment. And we were just talking about how calm things were and things were rolling along. And Rusty, you said that we were going to get a caution, but this isn't what you expected.
I told you guys we're going to have another caution. I just didn't think it was going to be my cars.
You didn't realize it was going to cost you a couple $100,000.
Do you guys have any idea how much money this just cost me?
I do.
I do. It's huge. The big problem is how hard the crew guys have got to work to get this thing all back together. That's a lot of wrecked up stuff.
All right, stay with us. We'll come back and see how fast we can get this cleaned up and check in on everybody else in the crash. Our red flag situation here at Lucas Oil Raceway continues as we have completed 176 of the 200 laps. That's what's left of the 62 of Michael Annette's car, and Jim Noble's caught up with Michael.
Well, Michael Annette had a top 10 run going, a 2-tire call got you up front. Then it was hard to see what happened from our vantage point. What was yours?
You know, I got loose there underneath the 40. I think we were lapping them for about the 10th time tonight, and you know, we did take 2 tires. We didn't have 4, and I knew, you know, the 18 and the 22 were behind me on 4, and I just didn't want to waste any time. You know, I got a couple car lengths on them after we battled, I think, for about 50 laps door to door. So, you know, I was probably, you know, over aggressive on my part. It's just a shame to tear up a really good race car. Actually, 2 Rusty Wallace Racing cars, and I heard Steven, I guess, he got jacked up behind, you know, slowing down for the wreck, and the guy behind him didn't see it and tore us both up. But it's just a shame. But we got Iowa next weekend. That's a big one for us.
You did not look real happy when you got out of the car. Frustration with Tim Andrews, or as you said, a little frustration with yourself too?
Well, he came over to the window and he said we ruined both our nights. I said, but your night was ruined before the race even started because you were planning on running around 20 miles off the pace. So, you know, and I just don't appreciate anyone come up to my window like that. You know, we can talk about it, you know, out here afterwards. So I was going to make sure right away he knew that wasn't cool with me.
All right, that's Michael Annette, as he said, going home to Iowa next weekend.
Well, and his worst finish since Ricky Fires came on as his crew chief has been 19th. Unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit worse than that tonight as the cars have refired and we are back under a yellow flag situation. Jim, you've caught up with Tim Andrews?
I certainly have, Marty. Now for the other side of the story, Michael Annette we just spoke with. He said he has some issues with you as far as the way you were running. He said he was lapping you for about the 10th time tonight. What's your response?
Yeah, well, we were slow, and I knew they were coming, and I was trying to best to stay out of my way, stay out of their way, but you know, I guess he was a little ambitious on charging the corner, and I thought I was giving him plenty of room, but it's a pretty wide racetrack, and unfortunately we're in this position. The Key Motorsports guys, they work real hard. There's not very many of them, and this is a big hit for us.
Did you go up to his window to apologize, or were you trying to say something else? Because he apparently had an issue with that.
Yeah, I didn't think I was very smart, and I wanted to let him know about it right away.
All right, that's Tim Andrews, his side of the story, guys.
All right, so our red flag situation, as we've said, is over. It lasted 12 minutes, 34 seconds. We're back under the yellow caution as we'll get the pit stops. And let's talk a little pit stop strategy now. If you are Ricky Stenhouse, you have led 173 of 177 laps. Put yourself in crew chief spot as here comes the 38 in. What would you do? Pit road is not open, so this is a stop that is...
I think you got, as it relates to Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I think you got to be defensive. I don't think you can't do 4 tires. You got to do 2 if you come to pit road, because you don't want to lose this thing because you got mired in traffic. Take 4 and 8 cars take 2. I don't know if you have enough laps.
Ricky, I'm just wondering if they're even going to stop at all with 23 laps to go. By the time they get this thing back going, it's probably going to be about 17, 18 laps or maybe more. I don't know, but these tires have not been falling off. He's got his teammate Trevor Bayne behind him, and if Trevor stays out and doesn't pit, you know, and if Carl Edwards stays out, I think you're going to have to, you know.
It's the problem with being a leader.
A smart call might be just to stay on the track.
Let's check in with Shannon Spake. What are you hearing down there, Shannon?
The 6 guys are on the wall. Mike Kelly got down, told his guys to be ready for anything, guys. This is an important pit stop, and they know it, guys.
So it looks like they are going to come.
Okay, pits are open.
And we'll find out what is going to unfold here with 22 laps to go right now. And there is the 6 crew.
I'll tell you who's feeling some pressure right now.
Here we go. They're pitting.
There they come. I'll tell you the guys who are feeling pressure right now are the guys that got to hit lug nuts, the guys that got to carry tires, because they need perfection. Whoever wins the race off pit road might win the race.
Yeah, and Elliott Sadler's 4th right now. He's looking really good. If they nail the pit stop, it's going to be good for him.
Let's go to Rick DeBrule.
And Carl Edwards during this last break was talking mostly about 2 or 4. Do we do 2? Do we do 4? They've decided to do 2 tires. The same debate was going on with Trevor Bayne. 2 or 4. Trevor said that he had worn out his tires, so they only put 2 on, send him back out. Shannon?
Kelly has been able to watch everyone on pit road. It's going to be a 2-tire change for Ricky Stenhouse in the 6, guys.
And the race off pit road. Carl Edwards picks it up. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. comes out behind him. Trevor Bayne loses a spot as well. Sadler McDowell holds station. And 60, we have just been told, too fast exiting.
Marty, he looked like he was...
Too fast exiting, Carl.
The 11 too fast, so Brian Scott's going to get hammered.
Marty, he looked like he was flat flying the 60 car on pit
Sure,
road. You could
confirm that with
visually
your official,
see.
Mike. You just said it. Confirm it before we come back.
All right, here it
Watch
is.
this. And I'll bet you it was the last 100 feet when he
Right
saw
there.
when he saw Ricky Stenhouse leaving also. Right here.
Yep, that's right.
And here is the race off. And that's how close it was, but it's going to be costly for Carl. He got tagged for speeding last week at Nashville, but it was early enough he could recover. This may not be early enough. You're looking at the race leader. That's right. It's the 33 of Austin Dillon. He stayed out on the racetrack, did not pit. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will be second. Trevor Bayne third. Elliott Sadler fourth. Michael McDowell fifth. And Carl Edwards came back in. He figured since he's got to go to the back of the field, he got left side tires. But with only 18 laps to go, not enough time.
Yeah, I don't think he's got enough time. That's a tough thing for the 60 right now. That's a long way to go with only 18 to go.
I was just doing everything I could. I took a little chance there. It's my fault. You guys did a good job.
So Carl taking the blame for it. He's the man behind the wheel. Here we come. Out of turn number 4. Pace car is off. Austin Dillon is taking the high side. And his tires, well worn. We'll find out if he can hold on to the lead. We're back to green flag racing.
You see Kevin Harvick's car is right there to 33. He owns that car. He owns the 2 car of Elliott Sadler. Oh, you see Elliott gets sideways there. It looks like he got a bump from Justin Allgaier.
Remember, Sadler started dead last in this 42 car field. Look at Buescher trying to go down low on the apron in the 30.
Ricky Stenhouse clears Austin Dillon. You see Trevor Bayne making the move to the inside with the cooler right side tires. They're going to pay off through the middle of the corner.
I tell you, Austin Dillon's holding on good on the top side of that track, and Bayne gets a little bit more of a bite up off of turn 2, racing down the back straightaway into 3.
Right side of your screen, that is Carl Edwards as he is trying to fight his way back. That's
Whoa.
Jeremy Clements.
Will contact Jason Leffler into the back of David Stremme.
Action continues. As you can see, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Trevor Bayne, they have back in the 1-2 position. Here comes Keselowski taking a look underneath the 33 of Austin Dillon as well.
These guys just dive bombing these cars down into the corners. Only 15 laps to go, and they're sailing them in the corners really deep right now.
Yeah, we talked earlier how this has been a gentleman's race, comparatively speaking, for short track racing, but here we go. It's getting late.
Yeah, Austin Dillon just got a bump from behind by Michael McDowell, but that's the risk you take when you have old tires on the car.
I got a feeling the gentleman stuff just went out the window.
Yeah, Drew Herring in the 88 of Eric Almirola did a little rubbing as well.
Yeah, new tires allow the car to turn better, accelerate better, brake better. Austin Dillon has none of that. He's got old tires on this car still, and you see it right in the middle of the corner.
You know, we watched a truck race the other day, and they ran like 115 laps caution free. But when they did pit, you could really tell the 4 tires did a lot for those trucks. The 2 tires held up for Michael and then some other people, but
Trevor Bayne as he has gone up in smoke. Second place, Trevor Bayne.
Stay down low as you can. Stay down. Caution's out.
Oh, that's going to help Carl Edwards.
You gotta be kidding me, man.
You hear the frustration in Trevor's voice. This would have been a career best for him. His prior best was 3rd at Chicago this year. Still looking for that first win in the Nationwide Series, and it's not going to happen tonight. What looked like, guys, with 20 laps to go, a Roush sweep of the top 3 spots, it's now down to Ricky Stenhouse.
That's crazy. You don't normally see cars blow engines on short tracks because they don't run along a lot of RPM for a long time. And Jack Roush takes this personal. Believe me, he doesn't like to lose engines.
Let's go back and show you on board with Elliott Sadler.
He's picking the throttle up off of turn 4. You can see it just grenades.
We saw it start to expire on the exit of the corner. A lot of times these things will break pieces on the upper end, valves and things on deceleration when you go into the corner.
And did you see that stretch of time where he couldn't see a thing? This is Trevor's view out the back.
See, that was on corner entry, on deceleration. 9 times out of 10, an engine will blow up when you get off the gas. That's when the pieces start stretching.
You know what's pretty crazy about that, though, Ricky? You heard the motor really still sounded normal, and the smoke's just pouring out of it.
And Austin Dillon is now coming down pit road as the gamble did not pay any dividends at all for the 33. So as Dillon.
Austin says, I've had enough of those old wore-out tires. Give me some new ones.
Yeah, his fun meter's pegged on that deal. They're going to get 4.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have thought the 2-tire strategy had been this bad. I thought it had worked out for him. I mean, staying out.
Yeah,
I thought it would have worked okay. It wouldn't have been this bad for him, but obviously a major call that didn't work out right for him, and he's going to have to come from the back to the front now.
Free pass goes to the 09 of Kenny Wallace. He'll be 16th car on the lead lap. All right, let's check in with Rick DeBrule. He's caught up with Trevor Bayne.
Yeah, Trevor's trying to figure out exactly what he's going to say right now. What a great race right up to that moment.
Yeah, it was one of our better races of the year. You know, you just hate to end it this way. Roush Yates has given me great engines all year long. There's some great guys there, and we just part failure or something here in the engine, and it's frustrating because it's one of your best races, one of your best chances of winning all year. Last race here at Lucas Oil Raceway, and you know, I hope my teammates get it. Carl had some bad luck there. Ricky's still out front, but man, that was a tough race to blow up at the end.
Do you think you had anything for Ricky at the very end there?
You know, you never know what's going to happen here. I think he was a little bit faster than us, but you never know when you catch lap traffic, a caution at the end. I know we were going to try. You know, no matter what, we were going to try to get him. And, you know, we were in position to do it, running second there. He's done great all night, but our team did a good job too. And it's frustrating, man, when you run like that all day just to throw it away at the end. But we'll come back, and hopefully it's a good sign for the rest of the year.
Once again, a great run, just didn't quite make it all the way, and it wasn't his fault.
Well, the engine shop will be checking this because remember back at New Hampshire, they had a blown engine with Carl Edwards, so that's the second one in 3 races.
Great point, Marty.
So they'll be looking on that, and look at this. We talked about how hot the brakes can get. There is a fire. Look at this right side.
I'll tell you what, I've seen rotors getting hot, but this fire won't go out on this 31 car.
It's burning big here.
Yeah, it's crazy. A lot of times rubber will build up underneath inside there
Motor's blowing up.
catch on fire, but this looks worse than that.
That's not good. I mean, there's a lot. The brake, well, it looks like it just went out. Oh, it's back up again.
He's got a serious problem, and we have got 1 lap to go. We're going green next time by.
Looks like he's got brake
What do I need to do?
Yeah.
Is it running? Yeah, but it's like all over the place. Water temp 300.
Oh.
Get up there alongside that too. That's where you're supposed to be.
It's coming out of both sides. This car has got a fire on it. He's got to get out of this car.
Rusty, this is starting to look like oil fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are bringing the yellow flag back out because of the situation involving the 31 of Justin Allgaier. So what was a potentially great run for him could also be going up in flames. Well, Justin Allgaier has taken his car behind the wall. It erupted into flames. It was a lot more than just a brake fire. Look at the dejection on his face. Remember at Road America, he was leading there when he ran out of fuel. He was running second here when all this happened as he pulled off.
We thought he had a brake scoop catching on fire, the brake hoses, but it looks like an oil fire, Ricky, just on both sides coming out.
I think it started as a brake fire, and then I think it transferred all that heat into the engine department there and caught an oil line on fire.
We're all good. He's out.
Let's reset this for you because you aren't going to believe who's in second place, folks. The man who started 42nd in this race. It will be the, or I'm sorry, Sadler's they've restacked them now as they're trying to get everybody lined up. And here is Roush Fenway Racing with Ricky Stenhouse, Trevor Bayne, Carl Edwards. He's back to 11th position. Still got a lot of traffic. Let's reset it for you. It's Stenhouse and Keselowski up front. Then Buescher and Elliott Sadler. For a while there, they had Sadler right up there in the front row, but they've readjusted according to scoring. And so now we go back to green flag racing, and there'll be 4 laps remaining here at Lucas Oil Raceway.
Nobody's had anything for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. all night. Let's see if Brad Keselowski's got any muscle on the high side. Wasn't able to clear him. That's very important.
Down into turn number 3, and Sadler looking for an opportunity to get past both of them.
A little contact here. A little more contact.
And they come by with now 3 laps remaining, and he does finally clear him.
See Brad trying to do the crossover underneath Stenhouse right now, trying to get alongside him down the back straightaway.
Coming to 2 to go.
We haven't seen anybody challenge him all night long.
And Brad's just going to
he's leaning on him.
He's leaning on him. He's taking him right to the wall. And here comes Sadler with an opportunity to get around. And Stenhouse, he's coming charging fast, and he's going to bang the wall, bang Sadler. Here we go.
Brad Keselowski overdrove the corner, used up Ricky Stenhouse.
Around. Sadler's going around. Does anybody hit him? And yes.
Oh, his teammate.
Contact with the 33 of Austin Dillon.
Get it going if you can. I know you're right here for us. Get it going if you can.
The caution is out. We'll have a green-white checker.
Marty, I almost saw this setting up. You saw Ricky Stenhouse restarting on the outside all night long. He went to the inside this time, and that just wasn't a good line for him.
Boy, that's a great point, Rusty. I'll tell you what, this contact isn't over. Now we got to restart, and Ricky Stenhouse is fired up. I could tell by the way he came off turn 4. Elliott Sadler's had a night to write a book about. I mean, bad to good to bad.
He had a shot there after coming back from 42nd starting position. He had a shot to be in at least the top 3, and now he is torn up.
Let's take a look at some replays here and see what actually happened. See Ricky Stenhouse getting down the corner. Elliott actually loses it a little bit here, gets in the side of him. Elliott spins, and everything's looking pretty good. And here comes along his teammate, and wham! Last thing Harvick wanted to see his car owner.
I'm going to give Elliott Sadler a lot of credit. He could have used up. He could have taken Ricky Stenhouse out here. Okay, all he had to do was turn to the right to try and save himself. And he was courteous to Ricky Stenhouse there, and it cost him a spin and ultimately a car. But I applaud Elliott Sadler for the way he handled that.
On board with Sadler. Let's listen.
Pretty obvious what happened there. Brad drove way deep in the corner and leaned up against Ricky Stenhouse. No contact.
Come on, you're good. Still out there.
Gets a little loose. Gets loosed over.
3 wide, you're in the middle.
Okay, that's a tough position to be in that Elliott Sadler was in. We talk about getting this aero loose stuff. He just got real loose underneath of him.
From Austin Dillon's point of view.
Slow, flex 2. Come on, come on.
One more view as they were coming down the front straightaway.
Yeah, Ricky Stenhouse did some damage to the right side of his car. You see Elliott just lost the back of the car.
Let's quickly go to Jim Noble. He's got Justin Allgaier.
All right, Justin Allgaier is just out of the infield care center. I know this is getting old, and I could see your frustration after you got out of that car. Do you have any idea what sparked that fire?
No, unfortunately, I saw it. I saw some sparks down underneath the dash, do a crack, and spotter right after said, you got some fire going on there, and tried shaking some rubber off. Figured we probably just had some rubber on the headers, and then all of a sudden it just kind of went haywire, and engine wouldn't run, and then it really caught on fire. So tough night for the Def Finish of Chevy. We didn't have the night we wanted, and come all the way up through there, thought we had maybe a shot at the win. I see James Bush's running second, so maybe he can pull one off that he couldn't get last night, and we'll see what happens next week.
All right, that's Justin. Marty?
All right, let's reset it. It's Keselowski, Stenhouse up front, Buscher third, Herring in fourth. That's right, Drew Herring, and we're green. Our third green-white checker ever here at Lucas Oil Raceway. And look at Keselowski trying to protect both top and bottom.
So he did a good job threading the needle, getting through those guys because, hey, look at this.
How Drew Herring get bumped off the wall.
He's still bumping.
Side by side with the 18. Michael McDowell, his teammate. Here we come to the white flag. This race will be official.
I think Ricky Stenhouse.
Look out. Here goes Brian Scott heading for the wall, coming back up across the track.
Wow.
The race stays green for right now down the backstretch, and it looks like Brad Keselowski is going to take this win. He's opened up the margin. So after Ricky Stenhouse dominated this race, leading 188 laps, here comes Brad Keselowski leading 7 of them to take the win.
Good job, boys. Way to get that done, Brad. Awesome job.
James Buscher.
Way to make something of it. Really proud of that. You guys kept working on this car all day long. Still got a lot to work on, but we got it done. You guys should be proud of that.
They certainly should, and so should James Buscher. Remember, he finished third 2 nights ago in the ARCA race, second in the trucks last night, second tonight in the Nationwide Series.
Hey, what, with 100 laps to go, I didn't think the 22 would win the race.
No, we saw that big puff of smoke, had no idea what was causing it.
You see, Brad,
I don't think Stenhouse is happy. Remember when Brad got into him, rode him up the track, and he's trying to catch up to him, and Brad's having none of it.
It's going to be an interesting conversation, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll keep the cameras on him.
I was looking at the right side of the 22 of Keselowski. I don't see any marks on it, guys. That's a pretty clean right side. It doesn't look like he roughed up Ricky Stenhouse, but he drove him deep, get down in that corner. Take a look at that. Just one little tiny mark in the back, and that's about it.
All right, let's check in down with Todd Gordon. He's a happy crew chief.
Well, Todd Gordon started today just looking for a third consecutive pole. You got to win. What was the key to doing this tonight?
Just track position and put yourself in position there at the end. We were tight early. 6 car had us on the long runs, but we had a pretty good short run car. Knew if we got this late caution, we could get a shot at it. Brad's really good at closing the deal. Did a great job to discount tire Dodge.
What did you think when you were watching the battle with the 22 and the 6 out there?
You know, I hope we get a chance to come back to a place like this, because that's good old-fashioned short track racing at its best, and done a really good job with it.
That about says it all. Go to victory lane. Congratulations. Guys?
Remember when Brad Keselowski started this year, a 30th at Daytona, a 34th at Phoenix? Well, he's won at Kentucky, and now he's won here tonight at Lucas Oil Raceway. And there he is celebrating in front of this great receptive crowd at Lucas Oil Raceway.
TV. NASCAR Nationwide Series at Indianapolis is brought to you by Loctite PL Adhesives and Sealants, trusted performance, proven results, and Verizon, the destination for tablets powered by 4G LTE.
Beautiful view from high above. It's the fireworks here at Lucas Oil Raceway. And boy, would we have some fireworks in the last few laps. Let's head down to the One Main Financial Victory Lane.
Well, your reigning champ gets his second win of the season, coming right down the street from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Brad, okay, 30 minutes of practice in this car today because you're going back and forth. Definitely did not have the dominant car all day, but you were there at the end. Walk me through those last laps.
Well, you know, that yellow came out for the wreck, and I was running with 8th, came down pit road, and came back out maybe, I don't know, 8th or 9th again, and just drove through the holes in the traffic, got up to 4th.
Marty,
the 16 blew up, and it just put us in the right lane. Then the 31, he caught fire. I've never seen that happen before, so just caught a lot of good breaks today. And, you know, that's what it takes. You know, that we know the Fords have a huge advantage on everybody else right now, but everyone at Dodge, Penske Racing, we're fighting as hard as we can to try to make up for that. We're doing a heck of a job. So proud of everybody in the Discount Tire Dodge, and this win means a lot. It's a track that's shutting down for the Nationwide at least, and I've been fortunate enough to win at you know, Gateway and Memphis and some of the other places, and these wins really mean a lot. I really hope that we can come back to this racetrack in the future, and just great racing all night.
You had a lot of rubbing right there with Ricky Stenhouse towards the end on that last restart. Did you think it was going to get a little more aggressive than it got?
Well, you know, we had to restart, and his car kind of outturned mine pretty good. And I knew I had a shot to cross him back over through 2. Pulled the crossover on him and drove down into 3. And, you know, it's just we're all both fighting for the middle. And I took the middle and he took the middle. And we just rubbed a little bit. And, you know, I didn't take him out by any means. Just raced him hard like, you know, I'm sure he'd race me for the win. And he did a heck of a job all night. And Ricky really deserved to win this race with the car he had. But, you know, just things kind of fell our way tonight with the Discount Tire Dodge Challenger.
Congratulations and good luck tomorrow at Indianapolis. Rick?
Standing by with Elliott Sadler, and I think this one hurts even more than last week. Take us through those last laps and what happened.
I don't know what happened. We were running 3rd on a restart, and the 31 caught on fire. So I thought we would move up to 2nd, and NASCAR didn't let us. They penalized us for some reason, and Brad got to go from 4th to 2nd, so that put us in position on the inside, which is tough down there. You get a little loose, and then I just got loose under the 6th car, but I don't understand the rules yet over here in the Nationwide Series. They got us in New Hampshire, cost us 5 or 6 spots, and I'm trying to follow all the instructions, and I don't understand how you can run 3rd, the car in front of you catch on fire, and you don't move up. So I'm not clear about the rules over here.
Let's talk about the action on the track and what led to the slide.
Led to what?
To the slide.
I just got loose underneath the 6, and the 30 was underneath me, and I was trying to hold it down to keep him down, and I just lost. It was my fault. It's a shame. My guys worked their butts off today, and we came from last to had a shot. And if I got to restart it where I should have on the outside, we had a good shot to win this thing, but it just wasn't meant to be tonight. We'll just go home, regroup, and go get them next week at Iowa.
For Elliott Sadler and the team, just an amazing swing of emotions.
just struggled to get the handle.
All right, I'm standing by with Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who I'm sure would trade 188 laps led for a trophy right now. Take us through those last few laps.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I've been working on my restarts all year, and they got us this last night or this night, and it's just part of this great nationwide insurance series, man. They got a lot of great drivers in here. Brad Keselowski's a really good driver and a little bit better on restarts than I am, but our Black Angus Beef and Cargo Mustang was obviously pretty fast all night, pretty dominant, but you can't say it's dominant when you don't win the race. But we had a lot of fun out here. I think we learned a lot, and we were just a little too tight on that last restart to really roll the center and get up to them, but it was a good night for us.
Unofficially, you are the points leader right now. Any consolation?
Oh, that's good. I mean, that's what we're set out here to do is get the championship done, and we got to have nights like tonight to do that. And that's what this race team's about. They worked really hard all day today. I think they got to the track at 5:30 and working pretty solid all day. So I owe it all to those guys.
All right, he's not in victory lane, but an awfully strong night for Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Leads the points by 4 over Reed Sorensen, by 25 over Elliott Sadler. All right, you heard them talking about the restarts, and I know you two were interested in the choice that was made on both of these restarts. So let's go back and show you both of them, and you guys can give your opinion.
Rusty made the point that Ricky Stenhouse chose the bottom. Rusty, that was very observant.
Yeah, the Stenhouse has been on the top of the racetrack all night long, and this time he decided to go to the bottom of the track, and it kind of got him boxed up there where he couldn't clear the 22 as quickly as he needed to. I really think if he had chose a top lane like he's been all night long, he'd have been okay, but I'm not for sure that was the right call.
Then here was the last one where he is back on the high side.
Now he gets it right, but the restart, he just didn't get cleared because Boucher's down there. Now I got kind of 3 wide.
But the problem here, guys, is that Ricky Stenhouse had already damaged his car. He hit the wall off of turn 4 prior to that, and I think he took the goodness out of that car.
That's one thing we didn't see. Good point, Ricky. He had the right side tore up on that 6 car.
Well, with 20 laps to go, Roush Fenway was running 1, 2, and 3. They end up not even winning the race. And Jim, I think you've caught up with Carl Edwards, who finishes 5th.
I certainly have. Carl Edwards was just watching the replay there, and if not for a late speeding penalty, you might have been in that mix too, huh?
Yeah, that worked last week to speed on pit road. It didn't work this week. That's my fault. I mean, what happened was Ricky and Trevor were so good that I got sucked into trying too hard to beat him off of pit road. I didn't realize there was a timing line between the camera and the cone, so I goosed it over the camera to try to beat him, and I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I did the wrong thing, but my guys did a great job. Our Fastenal Mustang was good, and I think there at the end with 4 tires, all we needed was one more caution. It would have been a lot of fun.
And now it's back to the Brickyard. How are you shaping up for tomorrow?
I think we're going to be pretty good. We've got the Ortho Fusion over there. Qualified really well. All the Roush cars are good. That FR9 power is huge over there. So hopefully we'll go over there and have a good run. And I'll try really hard not to speed on pit road. That would be bad, dude. 3 races in a row. So
there you go. You heard it. A promise from Carl Edwards.
I'll try.
James Boucher, while Carl Edwards lost in that deal, you gained. I mean, what an amazing run for you tonight, ultimately to finish 2nd. Can you believe it?
It definitely was a really good run for us and a great weekend. 3 top 3s. I can't really complain about that weekend. Turner Motorsports brought great cars for me all weekend. And
you just saw the restarts. Let's talk about the restart. Did you think you had anything to pull off the victory?
I knew our restarts were really solid, and with 25 to go, our car was a lot better than it was the rest of the race. I told Stuart Cooper that when we were sitting there on a red flag, I told him if we get the thing to cut the center and be able to turn, we'd be really, really good because we've been tight all night. And made a big adjustment on it, and it turned, and we went straight to the front. I knew we were going to have a shot at it on those restarts, and got up there alongside the 6. I don't know if I passed him at the line or not, but I definitely had solid restarts, and it was a really fun race for me. And glad to have a good weekend for FOE and Great Clips and Wolfpack Reynolds, Dollar General, and everybody else that helps Turner Motorsports.
James Busher, not a bad week. Let's see, third on Thursday night in ARCA, second in the truck race, second tonight. It was worth the plane ticket to get here, Marty.
Well, he actually was third in the final results here tonight, Rick, but that's, as he said, 3 top 3s as we check the motorsports schedule for you. The NASCAR Now, presented by 5 Hour Energy on ESPN2. That's at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. The Brickyard 400, our telecast is presented by Golden Corral. That'll be on ESPN at noon Eastern tomorrow. The Fram Autolite NHRA Nationals, the Western Swing continues, the finals of ESPN2 at 11 Eastern tomorrow. Then NASCAR Now with the Monday Roundtable, 5 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. And our next stop, next Saturday, where the fireworks will continue in Iowa, 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Well, the fireworks are continuing here at Lucas Oil Raceway, and here's our ticket to the race, and you can see that we've got some interesting stops along the way as we'll be headed for Iowa Speedway, then a couple of road course races with Watkins Glen and Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and then on to Bristol, where it's always some beating and banging. Let's take a look at the points update now, and we've got another change at the top. As the fans were loving the fireworks, Ricky Stenhouse is loving the fact that he has moved into a 4-point lead ahead of Reed Sorensen. And that last gasp deal for Elliott Sadler drops him back 25. And Justin Allgaier is now 52 back. And remember, 43 points makes up literally a full field. So it gives you an idea just how much ground Justin Allgaier is going to have to pick up. Let's check in once again with Jim Noble. He's caught up with 4th place.
That's right. We thank Eric Almirola for sticking around to talk to us. Almost a sneaky 4th place finish. How'd you pull that off?
Well, we worked really hard for it. It was we had a really good car in practice. Our GT Vodka Chevrolet was fast in practice, and we made some adjustments to make it a little bit better for the race. And it kind of went the wrong way on us, and we started off the race not where we wanted to, but Pops made some adjustments during the race that made our car a whole lot better, and all the guys on this GT Vodka team worked really hard and had really good pit stops on pit road tonight and got our car better and better every stop. And Pops made a call to get 4 tires there at the end, and that was a really good call. A lot of them guys had 2 tires in front of us, and we were able to drive by a lot of them. So good night for us. Another top 5, 3 top 5s in a row. So we got some momentum on our side, and this is fun. Everybody at Junior Motorsports working really hard, and we get to come out and run good like this, and we're starting to get things turned around, so it's a lot of fun.
All right, good, solid night for Eric Almirola. Shannon?
Well, Michael McDowell comes home with the 10th place finish, but you were running 5th before that last restart. What happened?
Yeah, just a green-white checkered. I got in the wrong lane. Drew got a little sideways, and my teammate, and just had to roll out of the gas, and as soon as I did, we lost 3 or 4 spots. So really unfortunate for everyone on the Muscle Milk Toyota. We were pretty good tonight, running in the top 5 most of the night. Just didn't need that last green-white checker. It seems like the last 2 weekends, that's what it's been for me. So.
And you're looking forward to the next 2 weeks. I know you're in the car in Iowa, and then, of course, Montreal.
Yeah, definitely. You get some momentum with these 18 guys and Jason Ratcliffe, and just want to thank everybody at Joe Gibbs Racing. It's a great opportunity and very thankful for it.
All right, you can see Drew Herring over here to the left. He had an 8th place finish. Michael McDowell had a 10th place finish. So it was a very good night for Joe Gibbs Racing.
So as Brad Keselowski continues the celebration down in Victory Lane here at Lucas Oil Raceway, and the fireworks, that was a great show on the fireworks. They fired them off for about 7 minutes. They got their money's worth for all the folks that stuck around. Let's talk a little bit final thoughts about this race tonight.
Well, it had to be a heartbreaker for Ricky Stenhouse, who led all day long and only loses at the very, very end. And what about Kevin Harvick's car? They get all destroyed. My cars get destroyed. It was a tough night for a lot of people.
Yeah, great fireworks after the race. Great fireworks in the last 20 laps. You know, but Brad Keselowski, you got to give him credit. He knows how to win. You don't need a conscience to win. He's just a hard racer, and he knows how to finish the job late in the race.
Well, and other guys that sort of work their way up at the expense of everybody else's problems. How about Joe Nemechek? We never saw him all night in the top 10. He ends up finishing in 7th position, and he's right ahead of Drew Herring and right behind Jason Leffler. Well, while we've got a chance to tell you, don't forget to tune in tomorrow. We kick off Sprint Cup coverage at noon Eastern with the Brickyard 400. The telecast is presented by Golden Corral. And coming up next, it's X Games 17. And congratulations once again to our winner, Brad Keselowski. Especially special thanks to our crew. They have been in this heat all day long, especially the pit reporters, everybody outside. We got the luxury of being up in the booth where it is nice and cool. There's how it finished, and congratulations again to Brad Keselowski. It's been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For our entire ESPN crew, I'm Marty Reed. Till we meet again.